This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
And here we go.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Ring the Bell Podcast.
Ah, shit. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Break the Bell podcast.
Yes, hello, beautiful bell breakers. We are here. We are live. It is Tuesday night, and it is beautiful out.
It is hot as shit out. What are
It
you
is.
talking
It's
about?
hot
You
as
saw
shit down
a
here.
fucking tornado.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
He saw a tornado, and I am freaking jealous.
Yeah, my wife
Um,
was pissed.
I'm sure that you saw one, or
Yeah,
that she didn't see
she
one,
didn't
or
see one.
oh, I thought she was like, Bill, I'm scared for you, but no, it was
No,
just like
she was pissed. And she's like,
I
I
was
can't believe
pissed.
you get to see it, and I can't.
I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed. It is Tuesday night. We are a day late, but I'm not disappointed
No.
because if we had done this last night, this story wouldn't be a story yet.
Exactly.
Because we found I stumbled across this Julian Assange plea deal shit last night about the time we would have been podcasting. So
Yep.
we would have probably seen it over break, and we've been like, oh shit.
Yeah. I
Sucks we
almost
couldn't
sent
talk
you a
about that.
message last night, be like, hey, what if we do Thursday and do like debate coverage? And then all of a
Oh,
sudden this
no.
broke through, and I was like, oh
I
shit.
I actually was going to talk kind of a little bit about the debate stuff going on, and then some other stuff because Biden's doing this debate. It's not going to have a live audience. Would
Yeah,
you go
right.
because if he shits himself, like
Yeah.
not like shits the bed, but figuratively, but literally shits himself, they want to be able to like edit that out. Like,
Right, yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want a live audience. see
CGI
that.
it out.
Or just maybe the whole thing CGI.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or they'll have like Obama standing next to him and kind of talking out of his ass.
Yeah. But then the Julian Assange stuff broke last night, and I was like, we're definitely talking about Julian Assange because I have been an advocate of freeing Julian Assange
Yeah.
for a very long time now. So
If they could just do Snowden, we'll be good.
Snowden, that Russ Albright
Yeah.
character, all of the what I would call political prisoners of
Yeah.
sorts. Now this one is interesting to me because as much as I'm ecstatic that Julian Assange is supposedly going to be free, I won't believe it until I see a picture of him at his house in Australia. I won't believe
I was
that.
gonna say even that could be faked.
Yeah, that could be fake.
Look,
so
he's happy. We left him alone.
right. So I won't believe it until I see it. So I'm sorry to be a little negative here
Yeah.
on this, but that's just the nature of it. This guy has a target on him,
Oh,
and
hell
it will
yeah.
for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but the CIA does not lose grudges
No.
very
No.
easily.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it's just like, oh, this thing's gone on long enough. We're not mad at you anymore. No, that's not how it works. Not
No.
with the CIA or big military,
Right.
like the military-industrial complex or
And
anybody
the
like
United
that.
States is not the only ones that are pissed at this guy. So
No, probably not, because his WikiLeaks released troves of information. It wasn't just U.S.
No.
related. Like the Edward Snowden thing was very isolated.
yeah,
Down to like the NSA spying. Yes, there was a ton of shit on it, but it was specifically towards the NSA and the NSA spying and collecting our data and stuff. This guy just released all kinds of
Right.
shit, like against war, against NSA types spying, like U.S. government spying on allies, on freaking
right.
enemies, on all kinds of people. Yeah. I mean, we'll get into all that shit.
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff. I want to kind of detail because would you believe there's probably some people out there, some youngsters that probably don't even know who Julian Assange is.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's kind of disheartening.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been locked up now, or in kind of exiled for what 12 years now.
I think so. Yeah.
So you're talking if you get somebody that's like,
God, it hasn't been that long.
you get a listener that's like 22 years old. They were 10.
Right.
They were
yeah.
10 at the time.
Yeah.
So you're talking a long fucking time ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm, again, happy that Julian Assange is going to be free.
Yes.
I am concerned about the implications this has towards, like, journalism, towards, like, the freedom of the press and stuff.
Right.
Because they weren't just like, we're not charging you anymore, just go free. No, he had to plead guilty to felony espionage act, felonies and stuff. And then also my concern is what was the motive behind freeing him in the first place?
And why now?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, there's an election time coming up.
Yep.
Oh, there's a lot of freedom to be like press to be squashed, like freedom of speech to be squashed in the next few months. So let's set some sort of a precedent here, and send a warning to everybody. Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, we're on your side. We did free Julian Assange, but he is a convicted felon now of the Espionage Act.
And
so
he's not allowed anywhere near a computer for the rest of his
probably
life.
not.
Right?
Is that part of his?
Oh,
deal?
I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise
yeah,
me if they're
that
like,
would be my
you're
thought.
banned from the internet forever. I mean, that would probably be the smart choice for them to make.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get into, like, towards the end. I'm gonna kind of get our opinions on where this goes from here. But I am curious as to what Julian Assange does next. Does he, does he go for vengeance?
Right.
Does because there's always been rumor that it's like if anything ever happens to Julian Assange, he has like a freaking failsafe that all this shit gets released. So if he dies, all this stuff gets
My guess
released.
he keeps that leverage because like you said, he's got a target on his back.
Right.
Right. So basically, you take him out, boom.
Right.
It
All
gets
this stuff
released.
comes out. But does he keep being like sort of a activist for like free press and
I would hope
and
so.
a whistleblower, or
Yeah.
is he completely done with it? Like, look, you made your point. I just want to go live out my last however much time I have left on this earth. I just want to be with my fucking family.
Right.
now.
Right.
And I wouldn't blame him for that
No,
at
not
all.
at all.
To be completely, I wouldn't even necessarily say broken, but even if he was broken, it's like rightfully so.
Yeah.
Just to be like, you know what? I just want to be a private guy now. Can you just leave me the fuck alone? I certainly want to blame him for it, but a big part of me wants him to just come out with a terror.
Right.
It
Right.
just
Guns
he's like,
blazing.
you thought it was bad before.
Yeah.
Just wait till
Now I'm
I
not
get.
leaving you alone.
Yeah, it's like freaking Batman now.
Yeah.
We'll get into all that stuff after this pre-show stuff here. So did you get wiped up by the tornado?
No, I was disappointed. It kind of like came down and didn't quite touch down, and then it went back up in the clouds and
But
just
it did
disappeared.
come down.
It did
Like
come down.
you texted me that picture, and I was like, oh shit, is that like right now? And you're like, yeah. And then right then the sirens went off. I was like, God damn it!
Yeah.
I almost got in my car, but I knew it'd be gone.
I know.
by
I
then.
was trying to call my wife to be like, "Hey, I'm watching this tornado," and she didn't answer, of course. And then
Well,
she
what
calls.
if you would have been sucked up?
I know.
The last you left a message like, dude, there's a freaking
Right.
tornado just dropped out. Whoa, shit!
That would
That's
be
the
kinda-
last thing she gets.
Yeah.
from you. That would be pretty fucked up. I didn't see any tornadoes this week.
Yeah.
It didn't even rain here. The
No.
sirens went off, and then
Oh,
was
it didn't
done.
even rain here.
No,
Oh,
absolutely
really?
not. It was nothing.
They
here.
actually, my daughter had softball tonight, and that's why I wanted to push to 8. And they actually called the game because
Oh,
they
I figured
thought
they
of the
would.
storm.
Yeah, there was
So-
a fucking tornado.
Well, but they allowed it to go on for like
After the sirens?
Yes.
Did they delay it at least?
no.
That's weird.
I know.
Usually, if there's, well, there wasn't really like lightning or thunder. That's when they
There
usually
was
call
where
it.
I was
Right,
like
was it?
watching the tornado,
But they have to like it's got to be visible like
Right.
at the field or
Yeah,
something, and then they
right.
delay it for like 30 minutes and.
And that's what
blah,
they
blah,
said. It was
blah.
like 7:00, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna call the game. Normally we'd delay it, but it's already 7, so we're just gonna
Right.
cancel it."
Well, so much for that shitty weather. It is hot
Yeah.
as hell out, though. I will tell you
Yes.
that much. That's okay. we're still here, and we're
Yes.
in a basement. So if there is a tornado,
We're safe.
we're safe. So everything's good there. Make sure you check us out all over the social medias, the Webernets and the inner spheres and all that stuff. Wherever the kids are finding us
The
or
Matrix.
finding things. The Matrix, I guess. Before Julian Assange takes the internet down, because that's the next step. I would be perfectly satisfied if Julian Assange is like, delete the internet. I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it would suck, but cool. Make sure you check us out on the social medias. You can find us at our handle at Break the Bell Pod. Share us far and wide with all your sisters and loved ones and uncles and grandmas. And I mean, it's election season. Share it with your dead grandparents.
Yeah, there
I
you
mean,
go.
they're going to be making a comeback this election
will be
cycle
very
anyway.
active
They're
this
going to be
year.
out voting. While they're out voting, tell
Yes.
them to like and subscribe to our pages too, so we can inflate our numbers the way we're supposed to. We're going to get right into this intro video, and we're going to come back and we're going to dig into a little bit about Julian Assange. We'll be right back.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say? What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What'd you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, baby.
What did you just say?
What did you say?
You talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about?
Who are you talking to?
One of the hopeful things that I've discovered is that nearly every war that has started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies. The media could have stopped it if they had searched deep enough. If they hadn't reprinted government propaganda, they could have stopped it. But what does that mean? Well, that means basically populations don't like wars. And populations have to be fooled into wars. Populations don't willingly and with open eyes go into a war. So if we have a good media environment, then we'll also have a peaceful environment. Our number one enemy is ignorance. And I believe that is the number one enemy of everyone, is not understanding what is actually going on in the world. It's only when you start to understand that you can make effective decisions and effective plans. Now, the question is, who is promoting ignorance? Well, those organisations that try to keep things secret, and those organisations which distort true information to make it false.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, it goes hand in hand in a quote I just recently saw from him when he talked about how wars are not fought to be won anymore. You know, they're fought as perpetual wars. And by the whole Biden signing that agreement with Zelensky saying, hey, yeah, we're going to fund you for the next 10 years, it's like they have
We don't even know if they're going to be a country in 10 years.
Hey, let's fingers crossed.
I mean, this was back in 2011.
Oh, yeah, but it was prophetic,
This
almost.
was back when I think people were still kind of supporting Iraq, Afghanistan. We were in
Little bit.
Afghanistan at the time.
Right.
Iraq was long done. Yeah, it was waning, but there wasn't as much look back. Like, what the fuck were we doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that came until maybe like Trump's administration. It's just like, why are we still there?
Right.
And then Biden's like, hey, we're gonna pull out of Afghanistan. Where it's like, why the fuck are we still there? I mean, this guy has been dangerous since day one. I mean, threat to the military-industrial complex, threat to the CIA, threat to
the media.
the media, the big corporate media, the big corporations that fund all this shit. I mean, it's just directly a threat. And so when you threaten that, when you threaten to expose that, of course people like get back. You know the whole analogy when you get backed in a corner, like when a freaking rabid dog gets backed in a corner, they really get dangerous. And when you threaten to expose all the shit that's going on, all the propaganda of the war back in the day, like how much propaganda, looking back, do you feel there was during the Forever Wars?
Yeah.
So freaking much. From day one, from 2001, this was 10 years after 9/11, 10 freaking years later. And he's just exposing it. It's just like pretty much saying, if it wasn't for the media, we want to have fucking wars.
Right.
Because they're just perpetuating the propaganda, the bullshit propaganda that the government's putting out there to keep us in these wars. Get rid of the media, or at least like alter how the media operates. Get it back to away from media and to like true journalism, true news, like
out
reporting.
Of the government pocket.
Yeah. Then these wars will end because the general population doesn't want war.
Well, but they saw it back in '91 during the first Gulf War, where CNN started their 24-hour coverage. They even had their own little studio with a nice little war scene set up there, so people could see how dangerous it looked,
Babies in incubators.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, that's from there, that started the 24-hour news cycle, and people are like, hey, we can make money off this shit.
So this guy pretty much put a target on his back immediately. I mean, he starts dumping troves of information, like videos of helicopters just mowing down civilians, mowing down journalists, our own journalists. Yeah. And it was like kind of covered up by our own government. It's like, this wouldn't have had to happen. Like I get shit happens over there. It's like you take out the wrong people.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Friendly fire happens.
Friendly fire happens, especially when you're up in a helicopter just mowing down troves of people. Right. Should it happen? No. Should we be over there mowing down people anyway? Probably not. Right. But if we are in a war, that shit happens. If the government had just come out and been like, oh, we fucked up. We took out some of our own guys, like some of our own journalists. And it makes you wonder, because I know kind of back in the Obama era when Julian Assange was, when they were really looking into bringing up indictments on Julian Assange in the first place, the Obama administration was like, let's not do that, because then we got to implicate like the New York Times and the Guardian and all these big name journalists that have done the same fucking thing, that have exposed us for shit before. So makes you wonder, did we intentionally mow down some of those journalists that were doing that shit to begin with? I mean, you just got to ask the questions.
Yeah.
Do I think so? In that case, probably not. It was probably just like, oh, there's a convoy there.
Right.
Take them all out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, shit, that was a journalist. But if the government would come forward and just be like, oh, by the way, this thing happened, the Julian Assanges of the world wouldn't have any freaking ammunition to, probably wouldn't even have a desire to expose anything, because you don't leave them anything to expose.
If there was true transparency. Right.
It's like did you ever watch 8 Mile?
No, I did not.
You've never seen 8 Mile?
I did not.
How have you never seen 8 Mile?
I did a TV/movie like blank out in my 20s. So
all right, I don't believe you, but all right. On 8 Mile, Eminem's going up against in this rap battle against this other dude, and Eminem's got a lot of shit in his past. He's like, the character loosely based on his life, trailer trash, white kid, blah blah blah. So in the final rap battle, the way he wins is he gets up and just exposes himself and trashes all himself, like says everything the other guy would have said about him. So he has nothing. Yeah. So he the guy he's up against gets up and grabs the mic, and he literally has nothing to say because Eminem just exposed himself. So he had nothing. So if the government would do that, Julian Assange would not have to do what he does.
Yeah, agreed.
We wouldn't have to have whistleblowers if there was nothing to blow the whistle on, or if you would just admit to your fuck-ups yourself.
Right.
So, but But the fact of the matter is, we do have whistleblowers, and they're not usually treated very nicely. I mean, look at the Boeing shit. Like how
2
many
suicides?
I was gonna say how many of them have committed suicide since they're just like, oh, by the way, they're fucking up. I want to kill myself now.
Yeah, right.
It just the way of the whistleblower, I guess. I guess you're just you're pretty much suicidal if you blow the whistle.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm surprised Julian Assange hasn't been suicided. There were talks of suiciding him at some point. So he didn't completely McAfee himself, but there were talks of him going the way of the McAfee.
Yeah.
So
well, now that he's free,
all bets are off.
Right.
It's a little bit easier to commit suicide when you're not in lockdown.
Right.
Especially with 2 bullets to the back of the head. So after 5 years, like I said in the pre-show, 5 years in prison is what he's been in, and then 7 years where he was exiled, I guess, in the embassy of Ecuador in London. So all these bullshit charges came down. It had nothing to do with the espionage, nothing to do with the hacking. It was rape charges in Sweden.
Right. Yeah, right.
And they issue an arrest warrant for him, and he's like, nope. And he like walks into the Ecuadorian embassy, and it's just like, I want asylum. And they're like, okay, that's fine. He was there for 7 years, and then we'll get into all that story. But then after that, he was thrown in a prison in Britain for 5 years. And so now he's finally free. Like I said, there's plenty to celebrate about his release. We've been calling for it since the show pretty much started. But like I said, we have to kind of be careful what we wish for, because what all was in this deal? What was involved? I want to know what was actually in the deal, not just what the media is reporting on, not just, oh yeah, he just had to say I'm guilty, and then the government gets a win because they got a guilty verdict out of it, and he gets a win because he doesn't have to serve more. No, there was something more in there. There had to have been. And then on top of that, what's the motive behind this deal? Like, what did the DOJ have to motivate them to finally, after this much time, be like, all right, we can come to terms with that.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you think of that before?
Right. Because, and it's not like the DOJ has been like on a hot streak of honesty and transparency in the last
No, you don't
years.
think so? Then also, what are the implications?
Right.
For free
Election
journalism?
year, same week as the first debate, it's like. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the deal was announced yesterday, last night. I got ABC News article right here. We're gonna read the initial reports from this. Like I said, it's from ABC News. It says WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is expected to plead guilty and avoid further prison time as part of the deal with the U.S. Nice ice cream.
That is nice.
The Justice Department has reached an agreement with Julian Assange to plead guilty to a single felony count of conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified information, in a deal that is expected to resolve the WikiLeaks founder's charges in the U.S. with no further time in prison, according to court documents unsealed Monday evening. The deal is expected to effectively bring an end to years-long legal battle by the U.S. to prosecute Assange over publishing of classified military and diplomatic materials that were leaked by former American soldier Chelsea Manning in 2010, including some that showed possible war crimes committed by American forces in Iraq. Okay, so first of all, again, some of this involved possible war crimes.
Right.
So do we put on trial the person that exposed possible war crimes? Because you're like, oh, you just put our military at risk by exposing possible war crimes.
Right.
But how much have you seen about the investigation behind the actual war crimes that he potentially exposed?
Right. Nothing.
Like any investigation, any like outside special counsel that's just like, we better look into this.
Right.
What he did may have been against the law, but we really should look into this thing here.
War crimes, right.
Possible war crimes. It's been like, dude, you can't tell people about our war crimes. Right. That's illegal to tell people about our war crimes. You broke the law.
It's national security.
It's like that is a federal offense, national security. Our war crimes are our secrets. You can't tell people about that. Goes on to say, according to a letter posted by the U.S. prosecutors, Assange will plead guilty in the U.S. federal courts in the Northern Mariana Islands and is expected to return afterwards to Australia, indicating that prosecutors will not be requesting a judge sentence him beyond the term of time served for the 5 years he spent in London's Belmarsh prison fighting extradition. The plea deal would resolve charges federal prosecutors brought against Assange under the Espionage Act over WikiLeaks' publication of leaked diplomatic and military documents, and has come under criticism by First Amendment advocates over his potential implication for media freedom, as well as Assange's ongoing detention in the UK, which has been widely condemned by human rights organizations. The deal should mean that Assange will finally walk free after spending more than a decade in some form of confinement while seeking to avoid prosecution by the U.S. For the past 5 years, Assange has been imprisoned in London's Belmarsh prison, one of UK's most secure jails, while he fought a U.S. extradition effort. Before that, Assange spent 7 years confined inside Ecuador's embassy in London, where he fled in 2011 to avoid potential sexual assault charges brought in Sweden. Assange was granted asylum by Ecuador's government, which permitted him to live in the embassy while British police mounted a permanent watch outside. It's like they don't have better shit to do.
Right, yeah.
It's like, we don't want to piss off the U.S. If this guy escapes, we're going to piss off the U.S.
Hell to pay.
But in 2019, Ecuador's government evicted Assange and British police arrested him on the embassy steps, although by then Swedish prosecutors had dropped the sexual assault case. A UK court convicted Assange of breaching his bail conditions and sentenced him to 50 weeks in prison. So he had an arrest warrant for the sexual assault.
Right.
And he apparently posted bail, and then he went to the embassy. He fled to the embassy, and they're like, he broke bail. So even though the sexual assault charges were dropped,
He broke bail.
he broke bail, so they sentenced him to 50 weeks.
1 year.
5 years later,
Yeah, right.
5 years later, that should say something.
Yeah.
Something got screwed up there. They're like, oh, we forgot how to count, or
We lost him in the shuffle.
it was more like, hey, the U.S. brought charges, and
Yeah, they were holding him until extradition could be
Yes.
arranged.
pretty much.
And do you remember we did a show about his possible extradition a couple years
Right.
ago, and we were like, yeah, if he goes to the United States, he's definitely toast.
He's fucking dead. Yes. So he's been fighting that ever since. It says, despite long since serving that sentence, he has remained held in Belmarsh ever since. After his arrest in London, U.S. prosecutors swiftly revealed a sealed indictment charging Assange with conspiring to hack into a classified Pentagon computer network and sought his extradition. Weeks later, the Justice Department under the Trump administration then announced a second superseding indictment charging him with 17 additional counts of violating the Espionage Act. Now, there's something we got to point out there.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is not the supporter of free speech and free press. I mean, he's made that very clear.
Yes.
Like, so for the people that think he is the candidate for freedom, he's not at all.
Right.
I mean, I think they say more gun laws were enacted under Donald Trump than any other U.S. president.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that is personally responsible for the indictment of Julian Assange.
Yeah.
He is the one.
And 17 additional accounts.
Like I said, Obama didn't want to touch it.
Yeah.
He comes in office is like, no, fucking arrest him.
Right.
So if you come out and say, hey, Donald Trump is the man fighting for our freedom, he's fucking not.
Right.
He's not a fan of freedom of the press because he's saying on his campaign trail right now that he's going to throw journalists in jail if he's reelected.
Right.
I mean, he's just blatantly
he was the guy
saying
that
it.
was like, a journalist pissed him off. He's like, fuck you, you can't come to the White House ever again.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, pretty much. And I mean, that's fine, but to be like, oh, you're going to jail now, it's like,
Right.
that's a little tyrannical there.
Yeah. Well, that's some Abraham Lincoln stuff, right?
That's some like borderline fascist stuff that they keep accusing you of. That might borderline that whole fascist thing. The decision to prosecute Assange under the Espionage Act prompted heavy criticism from press freedom groups as well as major U.S. media organizations, which feared it risked setting a precedent that could criminalize any media outlet that published classified information. Leading news organizations, including the New York Times, urged the Biden administration to drop the case. Of course they did, because they would be next.
Right.
They would have to be next.
Yeah.
Look, if you think that's a crime, you should see what we got on you.
Yeah,
You
right.
should. I mean,
Yeah.
Lord knows what all we've been up to in the last several years. You don't want to open this can of worms.
But you got to wonder, like, is that something they threatened, like, Twitter with or whatever when they had the Hunter Biden?
Oh,
laptop?
absolutely not.
Like,
I want to get into all that shit.
Okay.
Because that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't
absolutely that stuff. We'll jump into all that crap later. The Biden administration continued to pursue the Espionage Act charges, and after years of legal challenges, Assange appeared to be inching closer to extradition in the past year. But in May, Britain's High Court ruled Assange had grounds to again appeal against the UK's government effort to extradite him, once more prolonging the legal battle. Amid the court fight, President Joe Biden earlier this year said publicly he was considering a request from Australia to end the prosecution against Assange. International campaign to free Assange has been ongoing for years, joined by celebrities and press freedom advocates. In 2019, a UN special rapporteur on torture criticized Assange's treatment by UK authorities, saying the handling of his case put in doubt Britain's commitment to human rights and that his treatment in Belmarsh amounted to psychological torture. Assange's wife, Stella, has been helpful leading the campaign, blah, 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 blah. So there's the initial reports.
Yes, okay.
So they came out last night, and they're like, we worked out this plea deal.
Right.
That he'll potentially go free.
Yeah.
So some of the kind of details of the deal. It was kind of interesting, looking into the details and how it went down and how it played out, because there was kind of this back and forth between his lawyers and the DOJ and whatever. Because Julian Assange, would you believe that he refuses to step back into the United States?
No, I think that's a smart play.
Like, refuses to.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know this. Apparently, a federal plea deal, like a federal crime, like a felony plea deal, requires the individual to be in court. And he was the indictment was brought from a Virginia court, so he would have to go back to that courtroom to work out a felony plea deal.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not doing that. I'd rather fucking rot in prison here in Great Britain than go back to Virginia, because I know that. I mean, how far is CIA headquarters from that town in Virginia?
Like around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. So they countered with. So his lawyers countered with a misdemeanor plea deal, because for a misdemeanor plea deal, you don't have to be physically there. You can do it over a Zoom chat or something like that. You don't have to go back there. And they're like, no, we're not going to just slap you with a misdemeanor for this. After 12 years, a misdemeanor just doesn't seem like a big enough win for us. And so the DOJ is like, fine, out of the goodness of our hearts, we will let you take a felony plea deal, but not go back to the court. Like they had a little compromise going on there.
Yeah.
So he pleas down to, I think, what did it say, one charge of under the Espionage Act, and there was like 17 plus originally, which was going to amount to like 175 years, because I think each one was, because the 17 counts of leaking the information was 10 years apiece.
Right.
And then there was an additional 5 years for the hacking charge. So I think they dropped everything, and he only pled to the hacking charge, which was 5 years, which was time served.
Right.
Because he's been there for
5 years.
5+ years now. So I think all the rest of it got dropped. So they got that talk down, but he's still considered a felon, which so is Donald Trump. So they're kind of.
Right.
I mean, I'm surprised. I haven't seen any response from Donald Trump out of this. Have you?
Well, he's never really cared. I mean, to be honest, has he ever even mentioned Assange's name?
Yeah. Actually, he has a couple times.
Okay.
I do want to get into that, but I find it odd that he wouldn't just jump on this.
Yeah.
Being the opportunistic person he is, he's like, Assange is free. We're felon brothers together. We're both political prisoners.
We got matching tattoos.
Yes. Fighting the same fight, and he's just like, dude,
during
fucking
the debate,
hate you.
Biden comes out, he's like, yeah, my DOJ under my orders plead plead out Assange.
Right.
Whereas you charge him with 17 counts. Who's the real champion of freedom, right?
Yes, but no. Right now, the White House is saying they don't know anything about this.
Oh.
They had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
I do want to get into that, but first I want to talk about who Julian Assange is, because like I said, there might be some youngsters that don't know. Or there might just be some people that just have been living in our fucking rock and not caring.
Okay, raise your hand if you are one of the youngsters or under a fucking rock.
I feel if they're watching... Go away. You're dead
failed.
to me. You're dead to me. You're just fucking dead. And I was like, he's a guy that leaked government information, and he was just released from jail. And she's like, why'd they let him go? It's like, go away. You're dead to me. You're fucking dead to me. I hate everything about you. So I want to get into, for those people that are dead to me, I want to revive your...
Okay, here's your chance, people. Here's your chance.
Here's your chance for redemption, to learn who Julian Assange was, what he did. It's kind of just like a freaking little explainer from The Guardian, no less.
Perfect source.
Yes, but it is an explainer. Now, I can't tell who's actually on Julian Assange's side, because you would think the right would be gobbling up Julian Assange.
You would
because
think so.
of 2016, because of the Hillary laptop leaks, the DNC hack, all that shit. You think he would be the hero of the right, but it doesn't seem like that at all.
No,
because traditionally the right is the warmongering type, and he's kind of like
anti-war.
Like he's kind of put a squash to that.
Did you see the letter from Pence?
Yep, we're gonna get there too.
All right.
Yep, I hate that motherfucker. Explainer: who is Julian Assange, and what are the details of his plea deal? We probably won't get into details because we've already discussed those.
Yeah.
Says after 5 years in jail, Julian Assange is expected to plead guilty to a single charge that will allow him to walk free, supposedly, and return to Australia, supposedly. So who is Julian Assange? Assange was born in 1971 in Townsville in the Australian state of...
71? He's only 4 years older than me?
Yeah,
God,
he's
he looks
52. He's I mean, you go sit in fucking prison.
Okay, fair enough.
Have you seen
fair
him
enough.
with a beard?
Yes.
He looks like he's like 81.
Okay.
He became interested in computers at a young age, and by the early 90s, he was considered one of Australia's most accomplished hackers. Was it hard to hack in the 90s, though?
No.
Like, how fucking hard was it?
Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah, in the 90s, was there even such a thing as a firewall in the 90s?
Right.
Was there any sort of, like, cybersecurity?
MS-DOS.
Was cybersecurity even a word, like a phrase in the 90s?
Yeah.
No, you could probably just type. Hacking in the 90s was typing it, like knowing how to type in a freaking URL.
/ let me in.
Yeah. If you could type in an IP address, a public IP address, you could get into anything. Yes, absolutely. So he was considered Australia's most accomplished hacker in the 90s. But apparently he did okay by the 2000s because he was, well, I guess even then, let's say, fast forward to 2016.
Yeah.
Apparently Hillary's security wasn't that tight.
Yeah.
It was like 90s security to get into her freaking server in her closet, so that wasn't wasn't that hard either. I don't want to belittle the knowledge that this guy has, but when you're like the most prominent hacker, most accomplished hacker of the 90s, it's like, yeah, but throw him on a computer now.
Right.
Throw him on a computer where you pretty much have a freaking, all your cell phones have VPNs and shit like that. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Good on him, I guess. He was a pioneer, I guess.
Okay.
In 2006, he founded WikiLeaks, an organization that published leaked material. It wasn't until 2010 that Assange reached global prominence after publishing a series of leaks by Chelsea Manning, a former U.S. Army soldier. Now, raise your hand if you remember who Chelsea Manning was. Chelsea Manning, formerly known as Bradley Manning, the private in the Army that got thrown in prison. Now, looking back,
But
like
you
I
got-
remember we talked a lot of shit about Chelsea
We
Manning.
did, yeah.
Looking
And
back on
rightly
Chelsea
so.
Manning, Bradley Manning, whoever,
Right.
totally on the right track initially. Because Chelsea Bradley Manning was the one that leaked the helicopter video, plus like apparently thousands of other like freaking documents revealing like possible war crimes. Now the problem is, again, on the right track until Chelsea Manning shifted focus his focus to only care about this whole trans movement.
Right.
At the forefront of the trans movement, no less.
Yeah.
But when the whole prison thing came down to, transitioning, it's torture. It probably was. I'm not going to lie. I'm military prison where you're crying that you want to like get boobs. It's whatever. But then even interviews afterwards, because I remember we talked about this, interviews after Chelsea Manning was released, sentence commuted, it was all like about how life sucked in jail to be a true. It was all trans focused.
Yeah.
It's like you lost your way somewhere. If your way was, if you were on the right track, if it wasn't just to like, fuck this, I hate the government, I'm just gonna give this all to this guy.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that might have been it. Maybe,
No, and that's
maybe
exactly
the Julian Assange got to this person that was in intelligence of some sort and was like, hey, yeah, I know you hate the fucking military. Why don't you help me out a little bit, because I have a cause that I'm fighting for.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Bradley Manning, Chelsea Manning had a cause. It was just like, oh, I can stick it to the people that had, because I'm having such a shitty time here.
Exactly.
And the reason why
you
I
made
think
me
that
run 2 miles.
right,
Take
because
this.
you don't hear Chelsea Manning out there like talking about these war crimes anymore. You don't hear Chelsea Manning. The one redeeming quality of Chelsea Manning, and I didn't realize this, Chelsea Manning went back to jail for refusing to testify against Julian Assange.
Well, good on her.
One redeeming quality, I guess. I don't feel like, I mean, even after all that, again, like we talked about Julian Assange, would you want to get out and then go back to doing the thing that put your life at risk in the first place?
Right.
But still, it's just like, Chelsea didn't want a private life, though. It wasn't like, it's just like, I just want people to shut the fuck up and leave me alone and go live in my house and be a fan. No, because Chelsea's all over now.
Right.
I don't know about now, but when she got out, public speaking, going on talk shows like Oprah and shit, not talking about how fucked up our government is and how fucked up these wars are. No, it's just like, you don't know how hard it is to be a transitioning female in a military prison. It's just like, dude, you have a platform right now.
Yeah. Right.
And you just
dropped it.
Just dropped the ball.
Yeah. And I mean, she definitely could have bridged a lot of gaps, for the libertarians, true conservatives, true libertarians.
Right.
And she kind of shit the bed on that.
Absolutely. In 2006, he founded WikiLeaks. In 2010, reached global prominence after publishing stories leaked by Chelsea Manning, a former U.S. Army soldier. Among the files was a video of 2007 Apache helicopter attack by American forces in Baghdad that killed 11 people, including 2 Reuters journalists. Not Guardian, it was Reuters journalists. Gotcha. Sorry, my bad. The U.S. government launched a criminal investigation, and Manning was ultimately convicted and jailed for the leaks, although she later had her sentence commuted. Again, no reports of. The U.S. government launched an investigation into the purported war crimes, essentially.
Yeah.
None of that, but we're going to go after this person that potentially disclosed, leaked this, told on us, yeah. In 2010, WikiLeaks released a dump of more than 250,000 U.S. diplomatic cables, some of which were published in The Guardian. In 2006, now I remember in 2010 when all this came out and WikiLeaks came out, because I was in the military at the time. I was in that element, and I remember specifically getting a direct order from our commanding officer to not look at. We were not allowed to read WikiLeaks. It was a direct order.
Yeah.
If I would have got on and I didn't really know what it was, I knew it was a leak, but I didn't know what it was. And then later heard about Bradley Manning and all that shit.
Right.
But I was not allowed to read it. I could have been charged myself just for reading it because it was classified information I didn't have access to.
Yeah.
In 2016, Assange made headlines again after WikiLeaks published emails from the Democratic Party operatives in the lead up to U.S. presidential election. The DNC hacks, which sparked the Podesta emails, which sparked Pizzagate, which sparked all this shit. Yeah. Which turned
Alex
into
Jones a household name.
Yes, turned into it was. I mean, conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Fodder.
Right. Yeah.
Which I loved. I loved
yeah,
it.
I'm sure.
U.S. prosecutor said the emails were stolen by Russian intelligence and formed part of an operation to interfere in the election on behalf of Donald Trump. Nothing saying, hey, that was disproven later.
Yeah.
This is The Guardian once again.
Right.
Nothing saying, oh,
which turned out to be false.
Yeah, which wasn't true in any way. Assange has been heralded by many around the world as a hero who brought to light U.S. military wrongdoings in Iraq and Afghanistan, but his reputation has been tarnished by rape allegations, which he denies. Why was he in jail? An arrest warrant for Assange was issued in 2010 for 2 separate sexual assault allegations in Sweden. Now, I feel like these were bogus. Because why would they drop them a couple of years later? I feel like they're like, well, we got to get him for something.
Right.
Let's pay this chick. Let's have this chick like hit on him and then pay her to allege sexual assault.
Yeah.
I don't know that to be true, but
no, but it makes sense.
You never hear about these Swedish women that came out against him by any stretch. It says after a UK court ruled he could be extradited to Sweden, Assange entered the Ecuadorian embassy where he was granted political asylum. At the time it was reported he feared that if he were extradited to Sweden, he might then be extradited to the U.S. Absolutely he would. He remained there for almost 7 years, during which time his relationship with the Ecuadorian government became increasingly hostile. The country's foreign minister in 2019 accused Assange of rude behavior, which stretched from riding a skateboard and playing football inside the embassy to mistreating and threatening embassy staff. Now, if you were exiled to a small embassy for 7 years, would you ride a skateboard or play football at the embassy?
Absolutely.
And then when they told you to stop, would you be rude to them?
Probably.
You'd be like, fuck you, I've been here for 7 years.
Why don't you bring some real fucking food here?
Yes.
This takeout shit is bullshit.
In 2017, Swedish authorities dropped their charges against Assange, but his UK arrest warrant for skipping bail still remained. In 2019, Ecuador withdrew his asylum because he was playing football and being rude, and allowed UK police to enter the embassy to arrest him. I feel like the U.S. probably paid him off.
Probably.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
After his departure from the embassy, Assange was arrested on behalf of the U.S., which had requested his extradition. The U.S. wanted him to face 18 charges and accused him of encouraging and helping Manning steal the military files. If found guilty, he faced a sentence of up to 175 years in prison. Then it gets into why he was released, and we've already talked about that. Well, we didn't talk about, apparently, the new PM, Prime Minister of Australia, that was just recently elected, more of a Labour Party, like Party of the People type.
Right.
He's like pro getting one of ours back. Like, you know, we need to end this shit.
Yeah.
Let's get Julian Assange back. So he's kind of been pushing for this as well. So there's kind of the backstory of Julian Assange. I know there's a lot more. I did find, I haven't read it yet. I'm more curious of some of the other stuff he's leaked throughout his years, because we know the big ones.
Yeah.
The DNC hack, the Chelsea Manning shit, and what was it, Vault 7?
Yep.
So the big three. But this one...
What if Australia was like, cut a deal, get Assange back, we really want you to use your skills against China?
Right. I mean, it's possible. Or maybe the CIA cut up that deal. It's like, we'll let you out of prison, but you come work for us.
Right.
With your 90s hacking knowledge.
Why isn't this working?
So this is from Al Jazeera, and it talks about the biggest revelations by Julian Assange's WikiLeaks. So I just want to get into some of these. Report about toxic waste in the Ivory Coast in 2009. So this was before he blew up.
Okay.
He was small time reporting about toxic waste. He released a report that exposed how an internal report commissioned by Singapore headquartered multinational company concluded that its dumping of 540,000 liters of toxic waste, including harmful chemicals, in the Ivory Coast potentially led to burns on the skin, eyes and lungs, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of consciousness, and death.
Holy shit.
The UN reported that 108,000 people were affected by this dumping of waste. So he exposed that. I mean, that would piss some people off.
Yeah.
Cablegate. In 2010, WikiLeaks started building out its public library of U.S. diplomacy, which is a growing collection of over 3 million diplomatic cables between American diplomats, posted to 274 consulates and embassies from 1966 to 2010. I mean, why couldn't it be a couple years earlier we could get some JFK shit out of this?
Right? I know. On purpose.
Their colleagues and bosses, including back home at the State Department. In the first round, 250,000 cables were released to the public, arguably the single largest such dump of confidential documents ever released. Included embarrassing details of how U.S. diplomats perceive some of their foreign counterparts and nuggets of conversations where foreign officials, including many high positions today, express frustration with their own governments. The Afghanistan War Files, which is some of what we already
really
talked
got
about.
In this limelight.
The whistleblower site in 2010 released 90,000 classified documents on the war in Afghanistan. U.S. launched the Afghanistan war in 2001 following September 11th, finally withdrawing its forces in 2021. The documents painted a picture of the war and the U.S. struggle against the Taliban that was very different from public posture of confidence adopted by Washington. The Iraq War Files. In 2010, they made public 400,000 secret U.S. files in the Iraq War. In 2003, under President George W. Bush, we invaded Iraq. Documents from 2004 to 2009 showed the civilian deaths in Afghanistan and Iraq wars were much higher than the numbers being reported. The leaks represented the largest security breach of their kind in U.S. military history. The Iraq helicopter video, which we already talked about, that was one of them. The Guantanamo Files.
Oh, yes.
2011, secret documents spanning thousands of pages to select U.S. and European media outlets. Documents unearthed how Geneva Conventions were being violated routinely in Guantanamo Bay prison in Cuba. The documents dating from 2002 to 2008 showed the abuse of 800 prisoners, some as young as 14. At least 150 of these prisoners were found to be innocent Afghanis or Pakistanis who were rounded up as part of a frantic intelligence gathering and then imprisoned for years in the aftermath of September 11th and the so-called War on Terror. The Syria Files. In 2012, made public 2 million emails from 680 Syrian political figures and ministries working with Bashar al-Assad between August 2006 to March 2012. Unearthed the involvement of European companies in the surveillance and crackdown on Syrian civilians. One such company was Italian government-owned Selex, which continued to expand its contract with Syrian police despite sanctions. Disclosed NSA spying, probably right up there along with Edward Snowden. In 2015, released details of illegal intercepts from the U.S. electronic spy organization. In a series of publications released, WikiLeaks said the U.S. using NSA was routinely spying on foreign officials from Japan, European Union, Israel, Germany, and Brazil. You know, our allies. Additionally, whistleblowers said NSA intercepted communication between former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. WikiLeaks said the NSA was not only spying on international politicians, but also civilians. In 2017, it tweeted the NSA could hack Pakistan's mobile networks. I'm sure that pissed people off. Sony Pictures hack. I think I remember that.
I don't think I do.
Emails revealed female celebrities such as Amy Adams and Jennifer Lawrence were paid less than their male counterparts in 2013 crime comedy film American Hustle. The hack was around the same time Sony was set to release that film about Kim Jong-un, and people got paid. There was a lot of Sony shit back then.
That's right.
The DNC leak we talked about. doesn't. I mean, that's all it gets into. That's the last one because after that they're like, we got his number now.
Down on his ass.
We have his fucking number. Clinton accused WikiLeaks and Assange of colluding with Russia to raise questions about the credibility of U.S. election process. She lost the election to Donald Trump. So some of those I kind of forgot about.
Yes.
Some of them are like famous Julian Assange moments, but a lot of disclosure on foreign wars and foreign spying and spying on our allies, war crimes. Yeah, I mean, I can see why this guy has a fucking target on his head.
Yes.
I mean, again, putting putting a freaking rabid dog in a corner when it comes to like public perception, especially when it comes to the public perception of, we're not really taking out that many civilians. There's only this many civilian deaths. When come to find out, it's a fuck ton more civilian deaths than what you're reporting on. So not only A, are we killing a lot of civilians, more civilians than we should, B, we're really lying about the numbers of civilians that we're killing. That's kind of a... I mean, it should shift public perception towards the wars. Right. I'm sure the media propaganda kind of had its twist on it, or it just got kind of swept under the rug, obviously. But a guy like this doing a lot of fucking damage. Yeah. And we don't even know who he's in, like, who his network is. Right. We know Julian Assange is WikiLeaks, but we also know WikiLeaks is not just Julian Assange, because WikiLeaks was still posting shit after Julian Assange went away. Right. And obviously we know Julian Assange had contingency plan if he died, all this shit would... So who else is out there working? I don't even want to speculate on that, because I don't want those people to get killed next. Right. Yeah. I mean, he had definitely had a network working for him or working with him, or that he was on board with. Could be Russians, could be our enemy. Is it necessarily a bad thing when our enemy exposes the bullshit that we're doing?
No, not at all.
Like it's like, well, he hacked the DNC, and he exposed this shitty thing that we're doing, or he got this information from our arch enemy. What? And it exposed the shitty things we were doing. What's worse? What sounds worse? First of all, obviously, he got the information from Russia, or he gave the information. Like, I think they're saying he got the information from Russia. Yeah. And then exposed it. It's like, but you still were doing a really shitty thing.
But it also doesn't say how he got. Like, okay, did he hack their system and got the information?
Even if they handed it to him, they're like, here, expose this for me.
Yeah, somebody who works on that kind of level is going to have connections in different areas of the world.
He worked with Russia. Yeah. Do you think Julian Assange gave two shits about the U.S. elections? Yeah. Because that's what they played it off as. It's like he colluded with Russia to question the credibility of U.S. elections.
There was already questions about the U.S. elections.
Yeah. We didn't need Julian Assange. We didn't need fucking Russia, Vladimir Putin. We didn't need anybody to raise the questions about the validity of U.S. elections. Now, if they're like, oh, Julian Assange did this to... Like, if that was the case, why wouldn't he hack the RNC too? Right. Like, do they really think, like, Julian Assange is that big of a Trump supporter? Yeah, right. Does Julian Assange just sound like a Trump supporter to you?
Julian Assange, it sounds like somebody who is just against the machine, the system as it is.
I mean, fuck, he's Australian.
Right. He doesn't care
about
Trump
care
or Clinton
about American
or Obama
politics
or Biden.
He cares about what the United States is doing across the world, or what other, like, corrupt entities are doing across the world. We just happen to be really corrupt.
The reason why everybody was pissed is because we were like, hey, we're fighting for freedom, right? We're giving you guys freedom. We're fighting for the world's oppressed. And then we gunned down about 180 innocents in a helicopter convoy, right? I mean,
that kind of goes back on your statement about fighting for our freedom. Yeah. Oh, and that happened. Two of them happened to be our own journalists. Right. In the process, and they. Okay, let's get into some of the reactions because this gets hilarious. Because your favorite, my favorite, Mike Pence reaction is the best. Let's see. I don't want to donate to The Guardian. I don't like The Guardian. Reaction to Julian Assange's plea deal. Says, leftist filmmaker Michael Moore applauds the deal while Mike Pence says it dishonors U.S. military members.
It actually makes me sick that I agree with Mike Moore on something.
I know. More than Mike Pence.
Yeah, right?
Yes, I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Like this freaking middle-aged Jabba the Hutt of a man
Yeah, right.
in a ball cap
Yeah.
that I can't stand most of what he says. And then,
Yeah.
when you have to agree with him more than, which Mike Pence is an idiot anyway.
Yeah, right.
Reaction to the news, again, this is from The Guardian. Reaction to the news that Julian Assange had agreed to plead guilty to a single charge under the Espionage Act in order to go free came from various parts of the U.S. political spectrum on Tuesday. Are you really going to make... I'll do it. Fuck you.
Bitch.
Here we go. James Clapper, director of U.S. National Intelligence in 2010, when Assange and his WikiLeaks organization published secret intelligence documents with a consortium of newspapers, including The Guardian, told CNN, I actually think this came out pretty well. Critical to this was his plea of one count of espionage. He's paid his dues, Clapper added. There was a damage assessment done at the time. There was concern, but I don't recall direct proof that assets in Afghanistan and Iraq supporting or helping the U.S. were exposed. Now, that's interesting that James Clapper
And
would
that scares
say
the
that.
shit out of me that he would say that.
That's interesting that James Clapper would say that. The U.S. National Intelligence guy,
Yeah.
the director of U.S. National Intelligence
Yes.
back then, comes out today and says, I don't think there was any direct proof that our assets were compromised by this.
Yeah.
Because how many reports came out that were like, our freaking, like the Afghanis that are helping the U.S., like they were directly killed. Like
Right.
I've read them today.
Soldiers
like from the
died
New York
because of
Times
this.
and the New York, I don't know which ones, but came out and said that Afghanis that were on our side were hunted down and killed by
Yes.
the Taliban directly because of Julian Assange. And how bullshit is that? Now reading that James Clapper is like, no, I don't think there was any evidence to support that they were exposed, that our assets in Iraq and Afghanistan were exposed in any way to this. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So where did that article come from that said we had assets being like hunted and murdered
Right.
because of Julian Assange, which is why he should be put away? It's like something little shitty's going on
right.
here. Either that or James Clapper's just so old now. He's
Right.
like,
He's like, you know, it was 14 years ago.
like,
This is
I just don't give a
pillows
shit.
talk, baby.
I mean, who really fucking cares what happened in Afghanistan? At this
Right,
point, we're
right.
not
It's
there
over.
anymore. Here's the good one. This is the one that
Yeah.
boils me.
Yeah.
Former Republican Vice President Mike Pence, however, described Assange's plea deal as a miscarriage of justice. First of all, that's gross.
Yeah, right?
That's a gross mental image. A miscarriage of justice, and dishonors the service and sacrifice of men and women of our armed forces and their families. Julian Assange endangered the lives of our troops in a time of war and should have been prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, what he fails to mention is that the time of war that we shouldn't have been in the first place endangered so many more lives of our troops
Right.
than Julian Assange did.
Yeah.
Like, how many of these perpetual wars? I mean, Mike Pence did nothing during his tenure as vice president to bring any of our fucking troops home. I mean, they weren't they like, I can't remember. They were lying about the numbers over there to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Was it there was more over there or there was less? I don't
Yeah.
remember. Either way, Mike Pence did no goddamn thing to bring any of our troops home. Joe fucking Ice Cream Biden did more. Well, did more to bring our troops home. I
Or
mean,
whoever
totally
was controlling them.
totally screwed the pooch.
Right.
But still, in screwing the pooch, did more to not endanger the lives of our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan than Mike Pence did. So for Mike Pence to stand up there and be like, Julian Assange endangered the lives of our troops in a time of war and should have been prosecuted. It's like, no, all the no, all this talk of Julian Assange should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. No calls for prosecution of the people that committed the war crimes.
Right.
No calls for prosecution of the people that got us into these illegal wars in the first place.
Yeah.
But Julian Assange is the bad guy here because he exposed shit for shit.
Pence is a good party boy. You know, he just goes along with the party line.
Right, absolutely. And
we gotta save our troops' lives when we send them to dumb wars.
there should be no plea deals to avoid prison for anyone that endangers the security of our military or national security of the United States ever. Now, Mike Pence, be careful what you wish for there. Anyone that endangers the security of our military. What about sending them to a war we shouldn't be in the first place?
How about having
that's endangering the security of our military and national
having a broken
security.
veteran system where most of our veterans at
Right.
22,000 a day commit suicide?
No plea deal to avoid prison
No.
for these criminals that send us to these wars in the first place. Liberal filmmaker Michael Moore. Did you have anything else about, because you brought up Mike Pence, did you have anything else about Mike Pence?
No, I mean, we all know who he is. We all know what he is, and you know he can go away at any time.
He can he can freaking suicide himself if he wants. The liberal, that's terrible, but
Yeah,
I have
but
no
he's the
love
type
for
of
Mike Pence.
politician that we need to get rid of. right?
Absolutely.
That makes this country a bad place to live.
The liberal filmmaker Michael Moore, Jabba the Hutt, who put Jabba the Hutt in a baseball cap, put $20,000 bond in 2010 up for Assange's release on bail, said this was a happy day. Moore said of Assange, "The good people of this world will never forget your sacrifice." Continued saying Assange would face no further harassment or threats from the American government. That's not true, probably.
right.
Although 14 years of his life were stolen from him by a government of, yes, war criminals, they were never able to lay a hand on him. Hopefully someday this country of ours will apologize to him for this torture. In the meantime, let us draw from him the kind of courage that is needed during our darkest time of aggression and funding of foreign slaughter with our tax dollars.
Oh, Michael Moore, I can't stand you, but good on you, man.
Yeah, no kidding. It's also my hope that we will sometime soon return for having a vital and vibrant press that exists to uncover the lies and protect us, the citizens, from those who would seek to end our democracy. Former Congresswoman and Iraq veteran Tulsi Gabbard said this should never have happened. So she's an Iraq veteran, and she was she's not like, he put my life in danger, put my troops' life in danger.
My crush on Tulsi Gabbard continues to grow.
Yes. She said this should have never happened, but finally Julian Assange is free. The press freedom group PEN America, which had long called for charges to be dropped, said it welcomed the resolution of the case, obviously. In April, it says President Biden and his Republican challenger Donald Trump have yet to comment on the plea deal. In April, Biden said he was considering dropping the charges against Assange and the U.S. extradition attempt. The State Department later deflected over the progress of talks. One of the crimes Julian Assange is charged with is helping Chelsea Manning hack into government systems, says State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, which, as far as I'm aware, has never been considered a legitimate journalistic practice. During his presidency, Trump reportedly asked for legal options on how to resolve the case. He also asked for other options on how to resolve the case, which we're going to get into in the second half, like assassination. Another reason that if Donald Trump comes out and praises Julian Assange, I'm going to, like, friggin' flip a chair.
You know he is.
Oh, he will.
He will.
At an extradition hearing in London in 2020, lawyers for Assange said Trump offered Assange a pardon if he said Russia was not involved in leaking the DNC emails.
Incredibly self-serving.
How does that make you feel? It's like, oh yeah, I offered him a plea deal. All he had to do was say that Russia had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, they probably did, but it didn't have anything to do with benefiting Trump.
Right. Assange's lawyers alleged that during the visit to London in August 2017, the former U.S. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher told WikiLeaks founder that on instructions from the president, he was offering a pardon for or some other way out if Assange said Russia had nothing to do with the DNC. The allegations were denied by Rarabacher. So Rarabacher's like, oh, that never happened. So
And now Rarabacher's out anyways, right? So
I guess, yeah. So those are some of the responses, some of the reactions by different people. But like Mike Pence's pisses me off.
yeah.
I mean, it
right.
shouldn't. We shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, well, again, we know who he is. He's fulfilling his role as the right wing, like this is endangering soldier lives.
Yes.
This
Law
is
and
an
order.
atrocity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
So,
The straight as fuck, party
Jesus
guy.
Christ. So, one thing that took place is the White House has come out and said that they know nothing about the details of the deal, and they had nothing to do with the deal. Now, you did see there that Biden did come out a couple months ago. Somebody asked him, was like, what do you think about all this Julian Assange stuff, or like working out an agreement? And he's like, yeah, we're thinking about working out an agreement. Now, Joe Biden probably didn't even know who he was at the time.
Right.
He's just like, oh, yeah, that
we're
sounds
working
good.
on that shit.
We got you covered, Jack.
Right. Yeah.
Got him covered, Jack. He's a real good dude, Jack. He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah,
yeah.
rah. What's the positive statement? And like he's like, I don't know. Am I supposed to say a yes or a no? So he's just like, we're working on it.
Yeah, right.
So
right. And then he
like
comes back.
For
He's like,
or against?
who's Julian Assange?
Yeah, exactly. No, he forgot the conversation even happened because he got his ice cream later. So, where are we at? But like I said, the White House had nothing to do with it. And it's interesting to me because this could have been like a political victory that Joe Biden's campaign needs right now.
Absolutely.
Because there are a lot of leftists that probably don't support Joe Biden at this point, like the Michael Moores of the world, that would never vote for Donald Trump in the first place. But there's people out there that are losing all the support for Joe Biden. And for him to come out and be like, even if he had nothing to do with it, if he they're like, just get up there and say, fuck yeah, I did that thing.
Right, yeah. Be like, this is a win for democracy.
I mean, it's like when Obama came out and was like, we took out Osama bin Laden. Yeah. And it's like, well, you probably didn't. You probably, maybe somebody asked, like, do you have the order? Yeah. But I mean, he was, he proclaimed that all through his re-election.
That was
like, I'm the guy that took out Osama bin Laden, supposedly, which didn't happen.
What was it? Obama or Osama died, and I don't remember what there was a slogan that went along with that whole thing. But yes, no, he rode that shit all the way to the presidency.
He was the guy that took out Osama bin Laden. Wouldn't it be like politically advantageous for the Biden, even if Biden can't say it because he can't speak real sentences, but what's her name? His press secretary.
Oh yeah, KJP.
Yeah, whatever her name is. If she come out and was like, yeah, Biden orchestrated that whole thing. Julian Assange is free. Biden orchestrated it.
Yeah.
A win for the people.
Yes.
A win for free press and transparency. Even if he had nothing to do with it. Even if the DOJ is like looking at him like, wait, you did?
Yeah, you know who that is?
Wait, you had nothing to do with this.
We asked you, and you said, give me more ice cream.
What are you talking about?
But
get up and be like, freaking Biden supports free press.
Right.
I mean, political victory.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So why in the world are they avoiding it? Because, again, another reason this would be a political victory, he could look back and be like, he could get up and be like, I freed him. Donald Trump's the one that threw him in prison in the first place. Because, like I said, Obama wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
Because of, they called it the New York Times problem or something like that. Because if he indicted Julian Assange, then New York Times, The Guardian, all these other big corporate media outlets that have done worse than Julian Assange, or at least published classified information, they would be under the knife too. So Obama wouldn't touch it, and so Trump's administration is the one that threw him in prison or indicted him and got him in prison in the first place. He could come out and be like, you know what? Yeah, we kind of. I mean, he wouldn't even have because that one article said that the Biden administration did kind of still pursue stuff.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have to say that because nobody's going to care. They're
Right.
going to care that Trump threw him in prison. Biden's the one that freed him. Biden is the proponent for free press. Trump very clearly, they could easily spin it. Trump's a hater of free press because he still saying to this day he's going to throw journalists in prison. And I mean, it's absolutely, it's not empty threats. He threw Julian Assange, and who for Julian Assange? We did. But no, for some reason they're avoiding this. Why the fuck do you think they're avoiding this? I cannot figure it out.
Well, because I think, Biden, I think, doesn't know what side to come down on, right?
Right.
But Trump is trying to be the right winger and the champion of freedom. So how do you accomplish that?
Right.
When you have people like Pence, who's like, well,
lock him up
far enough, right?
Right.
So
martial law, lock him up.
I want to know, and maybe, I mean, who's going to come and do the victory lap with this first? Will it be Trump or Biden?
Well, the only time Donald Trump even offered it, like we said, was when it was something for him to gain.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It was,
right.
If you say that Russia didn't do it, I'll consider pardoning.
And Trump holds grudges.
Oh, absolutely.
He's going to hold this whole DNC hack thing over his head.
Oh, absolutely.
Forever, so he's not going to have anything to do with Assange.
Like maybe Biden didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing about Assange getting a new chance to appeal.
Right.
The DOJ might have been like, we don't want to go through this shit for 10 more years. Right. Let's just work something out. We don't want to drag this thing out for years.
Right.
Let's finish this thing up. Call it a win for us. They can call it a win for them. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Maybe Biden did have something to do with it because like the whole strengthening relationships with Australia, like the new Australian PM, like I said, wanted his freedom, and we got, like you said, this whole China thing building up. We need Australia as a strong ally. It's just like, if this is the hill we die on, then why?
Right.
It's just like, it's one dude, happened 12, 14 years ago. Let's give him back to Australia. He can't come back here to strengthen these ties. But then why wouldn't Biden come out and say that? It's like, yeah, I did that because of that. Or, it doesn't, or even just to deny talking points for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump did come out during remember we talked about the Libertarian National Convention. It's like, I might consider pardoning Julian Assange, or he said Edward, I can't remember if he said Snowden.
No, it wasn't.
But he
Snowden.
did say the Albright guy.
Yeah, Albright.
And there was somebody else too.
Yeah.
And so just to get ahead of that and be like, nope, you don't have that talking point anymore because I'm the one that fucking freed him.
Right.
Even if maybe Biden just doesn't want to. Maybe some of the info that was released really hurt some of Biden's like big corporate sponsors.
And that's possible.
Which is most likely the case. And so he can't look like he's siding with him, but he doesn't want Donald Trump to have that. Maybe I'll use it in my pocket during the debates and be like, actually, Jack, you were the one to throw him in prison.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what their whole reason is. Why?
It could be a whole kids in cages thing all over again. Right.
Absolutely. It's just like, you threw kids in cages. I just throw them in chain link
mini condos.
Mini condominiums with chain link walls. We are overdue for a break. I want to talk a little bit more about Donald Trump and then where this goes kind of from here, because I'm infuriated. I'm really scared for freaking Julian Assange because of the CIA shit, but I'm infuriated of some like I hinted around about like literal plots to assassinate this guy while he was president. So if he ever comes out and is like, I was always on Julian Assange's side, bullshit, fucking bullshit. No. So we're gonna take 2 or 3 minutes, take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna continue down this road and see where we go with this Julian Assange shit. And then we gotta give our predictions at the end. So
absolutely.
We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Sure what it is.
It's true. Yes, I apologize. You're probably watching my reactions to a funny video I was watching. So. We are. Like, for real.
Oh, and my mic wasn't on. Bill sucks. Bill, you suck at this job.
It's true.
What kind of co-host are you?
Well,
I mean, we've been doing this...
I'm a volunteer.
4 years now?
Yes.
I'm a volunteer. What are you talking about? You don't even know how to turn the freaking screen off?
No.
Like, come over here and hit a button and turn the screen off. We're back.
I would probably turn off the monitor.
Yeah, you're like, we're gone. The monitor's out. We're gone. Dude, you are so old. Now, did I tell you last week I got called old by a young couple? Did I tell you that?
No.
I've never heard this phrase used as old before. You know how like boomers, like the old term. So I'm like consulting with this couple for a wedding that I was getting ready to DJ at. I don't remember what the exact suggestion was, but the gal, the bride was like, yeah, we thought about that, but that seems like a really millennial thing to do. I was like, bitch,
this is a motherfucker.
You can't use millennial as a term for old yet.
How old were they?
Probably 20s.
Yeah.
Probably Gen Zers or something.
Right,
I don't know, but still.
You are old enough to be their dad.
Not quite. Not for 20.
Oh.
Maybe. I mean,
a young dad.
Very young dad, I guess. I don't know.
Because you turned 39 this year.
Yeah. So if I had a kid at 18, that would make my kid like 20.
Yeah,
21-ish. Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I was highly offended because I'm just like, it just seems like yesterday when people are using millennial as these millennials and they're
right. Like they were the young generation that was ruining everything.
Yeah, all these millennials like feeling like the world owes them something. These millennials now it's just like, dude, quit being
okay,
dad,
Millie.
quit being a millennial, dad. It's like it's so millennial.
Yeah, right.
Bitch.
You know we have electricity now, right?
Right. I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. And I'm at the top of the millennials too. I'm like I'm like some people say there should be a gap, like a crossover between Gen Xers and millennials because like the younger generation of millennials, like the real they say millennials grew up on the internet, right. I didn't grow up on the internet. Yeah. I got internet like in high school.
I was gonna say, like you had dial-up when you were. Like
I
10.
had dial-up when I got married because it was still cheap as fuck. Right. I had a Nokia freaking brick phone, and I didn't even have a cell phone in high school. I didn't have a cell phone until I got out of high school. So, I guess that would make me even older. If you're calling millennials old, you're freaking grandpa age over there. So I'm old enough to be their dad. You're old enough to be their freaking great grandpa. Nobody's gonna use, like, everybody knows not to use Gen Xers as an example for anything.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, they forgot about them. Second of all, you guys are the nobody wants to fuck with the Gen Xers.
We're badasses.
I don't know about
paint.
You're just y'all are like disgruntled at life. You're disgruntled that they forgot about you. You're disgruntled your own parents forgot about you.
Yeah, right.
I locked you in your house.
I was on a job. It was construction, and they were like, I had to pull down some cameras and smoke detectors. And the guys, I just want to warn you, I think that ceiling's made of asbestos.
It's like,
and I was like, I ate paint chips as a kid. It's fine.
That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I did see a Facebook video. It was this girl that was just like, everybody's talking shit about this generation, that generation. Like, we really need to come down on Gen Xers. And this Gen Xer was like, no, sweetheart. No. Yeah. You let that sleeping dog lie. You don't want to fuck with the Gen Xers.
Right.
Because we are pissed off and we just want to be left the fuck alone. Julian Assange.
Yes. Also a Gen Xer.
I guess. Yeah. Because you said he's a couple years older than you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be 50 next year?
No, the year after.
Next year, you're going to be 50.
This year I'll be 49.
You're going to be 50 next year.
Yeah, 2025, I'll be 50.
You'll be 50 next year.
Yeah, I'll have to have a big party.
Yeah. Right before you die. I guess.
I'm just getting my second wind.
Something like that. So Julian Assange, we talked a little bit about his backstory, his arrest, his bullshit charges, some of the reactions from the political sphere.
Some of our favorites.
Yeah. So we ended with kind of Biden denying that, which did we come to a conclusion of why Biden would, the administration would deny that?
I think, I mean, because like you said, his Obama, his predecessor / mentor / puppet master,
yes,
didn't want to have anything to do with it. So it makes sense that Biden would kind of steer clear of it as well.
But he didn't. Yeah, he didn't want to charge him. But you think, is it worth it to claim the political victory, or is there too many of the older like corporate types that generations? He's got too many people in his pocket that he
I think so. I think he has too much corporate backing.
He's got war money backing too.
Oh fuck yeah,
he's got that Ukraine money. What do you think Julian Assange is going to come out and talk about the Ukraine war now?
Tears that shit apart.
I hope he doesn't go dormant. He doesn't just go into be a hermit somewhere, because it's like, Julian, you've been missing out on Ukraine.
This is prime shit right here. This is the
all
next
places,
endless war.
Ukraine.
Our president just signed an agreement to fund this shit for the next 10 years.
Right. So one thing that I know about Donald Trump is it doesn't matter what he says right now. It doesn't matter what he comes out and says, like, I'm the one that got the whole wheel in motion to free him. Right. Donald Trump's not a Julian Assange guy. He never was. No. At least his administration, he never was. He never fucking was, unless it somehow benefited him. If Julian Assange would have came out and been like, Russia had nothing to do with it, he would have been like Kanye West. He would have been the white Kanye West, the Australian Kanye West for Donald Trump. It's like, oh, another person likes me. He's my biggest supporter. Me and Julian Assange, we go way back. Back to the days when I would surf the beaches with my golden hair in Australia. He would, but now, but since he,
and he probably would come out and say that, be like, look, I always thought he was innocent, should be set free. I just want him to come out and say Russia had nothing to do with it, and I would have pardoned him.
Now, funny story. 2016, Donald Trump came out and said, Julian Assange is the greatest guy in the world, because what happened in 2016? The DNC hack. Right. 2019, probably after they offered the pardon thing, if he was elected, 2019, Donald Trump comes out and says, I have no idea who this guy even is. Literally said it. So 3 years.
Doesn't surprise me.
3 years it went from greatest guy, we go way back, to who the fuck is Julian Assange? Mm-hmm. No clue who this guy was, supposedly. Probably because he shot down. He's like, I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to give away my source, which was probably Russia. And even if it was Russia, who the fuck cares? Right. Who fucking cares? It wasn't an election motivation by any stretch from Julian Assange.
Yeah.
And if it was just to burn the whole fucking thing down. And I'm perfectly fine with that.
And that's my guess. That's what it was.
But one thing Donald Trump did want, literally, was to have him fucking killed. Because Donald Trump came out, first of all, just a few months ago and said he was considered, like I said, at the Libertarian National Convention, came out and said he would give serious consideration to pardoning Julian Assange if reelected president. That's what he said. And that was before his speech. He didn't even say that in the speech. Somebody was like, are you going to talk? He's like, I'm going to give very serious consideration to pardoning him or something. It said, so this is from some Australian source called abc.net.au. It's Australian ABC.
Interesting.
It says, Mr. Trump was asked about the case by podcaster Tim Pool, who recorded an interview with the former president before he addressed the Libertarians Party National Convention in Washington at the weekend. Will you pardon Julian Assange? Said Tim Pool. Trump responded, well, I'm going to talk about that today, and we're going to give it really serious consideration. And we're going to have a couple other things to say in the speech that I think you're going to love. It's like, we're going to talk about stuff.
Around.
We're going to talk about stuff. and then we're going to talk about other stuff, and you're really going to like the things we're going to talk about. Very deflective there.
Yeah, right.
However, Mr. Trump did not specifically address Mr. Assange's situation in his speech, like he said he would. He did say he would appoint a special task force to rapidly review cases of every political prisoner who's been unjustly persecuted by the Biden administration. Bitch, you're the one that threw him in jail.
Right.
He couldn't say, I'm going to go after all the political prisoners unjustly persecuted by Biden.
January 6th people.
Like Julian Assange. Like, it's like somebody would be like, you did that. That was under your administration, dumbass.
Yeah.
He's like, actually, what I meant was Russ Albright and the J6 people.
Right.
It does say he repeated his pledge to pardon supporters of January 6th riot, as well as Russ Albright, a black market website operator who was sentenced to life in prison in 2015, so missed the cutoff by a year. So that was during the Obama administration. So he can't say Julian Assange because that would be his political prisoner, not the corrupt Biden administration.
Yeah.
So it's funny. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about that. And somebody whispers like, don't mention that. Don't mention Julian Assange because we did that. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Russ Albright, you're talking about Russ Albright, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're talking Russ Albright and all the political prisoners.
Yeah.
It's such bullshit. But back to the assassination plot. This is a fact checked from MSN, or it's from Newsweek, actually. Did the CIA want Julian Assange killed? What's your opinion?
Yes.
Absolutely, they did. 100% want Julian Assange killed. They probably still have it in the works to have Julian Assange killed because it's the CIA.
Right.
It says WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was released this week after reaching a plea deal with U.S. authorities. Assange, who gained international notoriety for publishing classified information and diplomatic documents through WikiLeaks, has been charged with one count of conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information. It goes on to say, here's a post. This is a post on X, formerly Twitter, by Wall Street Apes. I'm not sure who Wall Street Apes are, but they posted this thing. Viewed more than 820,000 times. Said, now that Julian Assange has been freed, it's very important to share this clip again. Julian needs to be careful. So this was a video by Tucker Carlson talking about the CIA with Joe Rogan, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
It says the post included a video of Tucker speaking to Joe Rogan, during which he said, Yahoo News, Mike Isikoff wrote a long piece on this several years ago. His employees went to Mike Isikoff and said, hey, Mike Pompeo was plotting to murder Julian Assange, who's never been charged with a crime in the United States as CIA director. That's illegal. You're not allowed. Federal employees are not allowed to just kill people they don't like, okay? Now,
do they know that?
What Tucker Carlson failed to say was Donald Trump was in on this conversation because Tucker's kind of a Donald Trump guy.
Right. Well, what was it?
So it's just Mike Pompeo, not Donald Trump. What were you saying?
Oh, what was it? Was it MSNBC was saying when he went to go interview Putin is that Tucker Carlson was like Trump's right-hand man?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. The facts. So here's the facts of before it showed the whole Twitter post, but it's not going to. But here's the facts of the. So that was the claim. Tucker Carlson said that thing. Here's the actual facts. So they're fact checking it. It is true that a report published by Yahoo News in 2021 claimed that, based on accounts of former unnamed U.S. officials, there had been discussions considering killing Assange with senior officials inside the CIA and the Trump administration, even requesting sketches or options of how to kill him. Now, sketches, is that like doodles? It's like, can you draw what that would look like if Julian Assange was killed? Can you just draw me a picture?
Just stick figures is fine.
One unnamed foreign senior counterintelligence official told journalists that these discussions had occurred at the highest levels of the Trump administration. The alleged plans came after the publication of the CIA hacking tool known as Vault 7. On March 7, 2017, WikiLeaks released 8,000 Vault 7 documents and files that it claimed were obtained from an isolated high-security network within the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. The release alleged that the CIA's mobile development branch produced malware to gain access to devices. It stated these techniques permit the CIA to bypass the encryption of WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, Weibo, Confide, and Cloakman by hacking the smartphones that they run on the collecting audio and message traffic before encryption is applied. So all those encrypted apps that all the freaking Proud Boys and stuff used, the CIA was already looking at that, and we already knew they were already looking at it because that was exposed back in 2017 with from WikiLeaks. 3 officials told Yahoo News that following the leak, there were discussions that considered killing Assange. One official claimed that they were briefed on a spring 2017 meeting in which former President Donald Trump asked whether the CIA could assassinate Assange and provide him with options for how to do so. So it sounds like this was either A, Donald Trump's idea, or B, the CIA is like, we could assassinate him. And he's like, that's a really good idea. How would you do that?
And they're like,
can we do that? And they're like, yeah, we can, but
do you really want to know about it?
Yeah. He's like, actually, I do. Can you draw a picture?
Yeah, right.
Can you draw a picture of exactly what that would look like?
Send it to my cell phone.
Yeah, I want to know all the details.
Yeah.
I want all the ends of that. I want to see his bloody corpse. I want to hang his bloody head on my wall.
Doesn't Trump strike you as somebody who would just like to know that he would have the power?
Absolutely.
To take him out.
He's like, I can order to have them killed, right? It's like, well, we can because we're the CIA, but I'm the president. It's like, but
do you really want to know about that?
I
right?
do. I absolutely do want to know it. I want to be the guy that ordered an assassination.
Call me and me to say, take him out.
Yes. Sources speaking to Yahoo News called the plans unhinged and ridiculous.
He was probably like, can you drop a safe on him when he's walking down the street?
And it was unclear how serious they were. One said it was just Trump being Trump. Trump denied the claim.
I was not being Trump.
It wasn't just me being me. I have the power to do this. That's how he would deny the claim. Yahoo News said it could not confirm whether these proposals made it to the White House.
I want to know what the proposals are.
I do too.
What's Trump's idea of like a cool assassination?
Some of its sources said they heard of no such discussion. The idea of killing him didn't get serious traction, according to one CIA former official who said this is a crazy thing that wastes our time.
He probably suggested sharks with laser beams.
Now, of course, the former CIA official said, we weren't serious.
Don't do that.
We weren't serious.
Nobody does that.
It would have just been a waste of our time. Yeah, because they haven't done it before that we know of.
Yeah.
And probably a million times that we don't know of. But yeah, this was a waste of time.
Yeah.
To discuss assassinating somebody.
Yeah. That's because of Trump's ideas, right?
Yeah. They're trying to pin it on an unhinged Trump, not the fact that maybe Mike Pompeo came up with it or a CIA guy came up with it, and Trump's like, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. They're like, oh yeah, it was discussed. It was just Trump being Trump.
Yeah.
The CIA and Pompeo did not comment on the report at the time. No shit. Newsweek has contacted a media representative for the CIA via email for comment. Assange is expected to be sentenced for 5 years, blah, blah, blah. This just gets into the rest of the shit. So how does that make you feel knowing Donald Trump, the champion of freedom, was like, yeah, that guy's got to go. Can we just kill that bitch?
It doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either, but then to come out and be like, oh, the free press or like
he's the hope for democracy.
Right. But then this guy who's not even a U.S. citizen comes out and is like, yeah, the U.S. kind of did this shit. And he's like, fucking kill him.
Yeah.
Kill him now. We don't need that guy at all. Just freaking
then
take
they all
him out.
laugh and they're like, oh, you're just being Trump.
It's like, no,
I'm serious.
No. Can you just freaking kill him? Can we drop a nuke on him?
Yeah.
Can we just fucking
just like a little one?
Now, what this article does fail to say. So, first of all, I got to scroll down. We got to see what they rated this as for the fact check. Needs context. What context do we need? You just came out and said
he was Trump.
All the
Trump.
Context of this. It wasn't just like, yeah, this thing was said. No, it was just like, well, there was this discussion during this meeting, and it was reported that there's quite a bit of context there.
But they were,
but it's very close to the very.
But
very
Pence
true
brought
there.
some coke, and so nobody was being serious. They were all joking around.
It was cool.
Yeah,
we're nobody took him seriously.
Yeah, right.
Why would the CIA? Why would the CIA take it
It's
seriously
like
to
the CIA
assassinate a
would
political
laugh and
opponent?
be like, ha ha, and then they look at each other like, shit.
Yeah, the CIA guy's like, Trump's like, dude, we should assassinate him, and some CIA guy's like, it's not like he's JFK, and they're just like,
Yeah.
what? I mean, that's a funny joke.
Yeah. It's kind of a CIA joke.
Inside joke, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, you want to get it.
Yeah.
You want to get it.
Kennedy got it. Ah, no.
Blew his mind when he heard that one. So, they said not serious traction behind those comments. But now that he's out and he's released, will it now get some serious traction? Because I feel like a freed Assange is easier to disappear than somebody that's hiding out in Ecuador, freaking
skateboarding around the embassy.
Ecuador embassy, throwing football and skateboarding, or even if they, he was being held prisoner in Britain, who was trying to extradite him to us, but the legal system there was just, they got this fucked up legal system that like looks out for people's rights a little bit. Apparently,
against the United States is probably
something.
Be like, oh well, we got him here.
I think I had seen one post that said they were looking at plots to like kidnap him from either the embassy or the prison. Can you imagine the diplomatic situation that would turn into? Yeah. The CIA like puts C4 on the side of the Ecuadorian freaking embassy and blows a hole in it and freaking kidnaps Julian Assange while he's playing football. He has no idea what's gonna. Yeah. I mean, that would be a diplomatic situation.
A little bit.
So now that he's free,
you just put him on a Boeing playback to Australia. Right?
Exactly. That's how I'd have a freaking seat right next to the door.
Yeah.
The emergency exit.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying we're gonna kill him, but you just don't know what's gonna happen on a Boeing flight these days.
Those planes are unpredictable.
Yes, you just never know. Maybe that's what Boeing's been preparing for this whole freaking time. It's just like, well, we've mastered the art of doors flying off planes. Now we can free Julian Assange and fly him back to Australia.
Yes.
That's what this whole thing and this whole plot was about. I don't know. Now that he's free, like I said before, the CIA holds grudges.
Oh, fuck
They just do.
They do.
I mean, they get a little upset. I mean, again, look at JFK. CIA is like, we're going to go have this covert attack on Cuba.
Yeah.
And we want your support from the air. We want you to call in, like, air support.
Yeah.
Like, to authorize air support. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, we're going to do this and you're going to do that. He's like, I'm not going to do that. He's like, well, wink, wink, we're going to go do this. And they go do it. And they're like, hey, we need air support. He's like, I'm not going to do that. And they get fucked up in the Bay of Pigs.
Yep.
And they held a grudge.
Yeah. Yep.
Probably that and a bunch of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And now look where JFK is. So the CIA tends to hold a grudge.
Family's gone.
Pretty much. I mean, RFK Jr. is still there, but he's running for office, so he's next, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's definitely got a he's more at risk now that he's free than he was if he had just stayed in prison?
Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, anything can happen now.
Well,
right?
he even knew if he came back to the United States, he'd probably A, be dead, or B, never go home.
Yeah. And we talked about that again. It's like, if he was extradited to the United States, he was not going to make it the night.
Right.
So, yes, I mean, being out free, going to Australia, like
he's
the
not coming
deadliest
to the
country
United
in
States.
the fucking world.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
they could just pick up one of the freaking Australian animals and throw it at him and be like,
he got drowned by a kangaroo.
Died
Holy
of natural
fuck.
causes. Died of natural causes. A stingray. He took the Steve Irwin way out. He decided to swim with stingrays in Australia.
Right through the heart.
Right through the heart.
Yep.
No, nothing back on the CIA, obviously.
Right. No, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, I get Australia is kind of on our side and stuff.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they're not like our closest ally, but they're definitely on our side.
And they are part of our little Pacific Union against China.
And there's CIA ops in Australia hanging
CIA
out with
ops
kangaroos.
Yes.
You know there
they
is
probably
already.
Are kangaroos.
So, again,
yeah,
may not have been traction back then. It's just like, that's a stupid idea because he's in prison.
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to pull that off? But now they're like, well, bitch, he's free now.
Right. And again,
free access.
Turning him is the only thing I can see that would allow them to
Yeah, there's
tabs
two
on him.
options: kill him or turn him.
Right,
Those
exactly.
are literally your two options.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they feel like they. Do you think they take the risk? Take the chance that they broke him enough that he's not going to do anything else? I mean, the guy's fucking dangerous.
No, yeah, they're going to watch him for the rest of his life.
I mean, you saw that video that I played at the beginning. I've got another video. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But what about the other implications? We talked about a little bit about the First Amendment shit that this involves.
So if he shows up dead, does that shit on Trump come back?
I don't know. They'd have to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if he was taken out during this administration, Trump would jump on that shit. It's like they just freed him to kill him. He was a political prisoner. And then he couldn't come out and be like, dude, I didn't like you in the first place. He'd already be dead.
Right,
but if they wait till the end of January, if Trump is elected, and then take him out, then it falls kind of on Trump. And he's like, fuck.
Right, yeah.
I threw him in jail. Joe Biden released him.
And now he's
as soon
dead.
as I'm elected president, he gets killed.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
And apparently you threw around some ideas.
And yeah, I'm on the record apparently for suggesting that we take him out.
Yeah.
Before it's like nobody's gonna believe that I didn't have anything to do with this. I want to get into a little bit about the implications towards the First Amendment, freedom of press, freedom of speech stuff, because it is kind of a scary precedent.
Well,
it doesn't hold like a legal precedent, like
Right.
because he cut a deal and it was just one felony charge. It's not like they can be like, well, citing U.S. versus Assange, we have precedent. Like they can't like use that legally as a
Right.
precedent, but they can use that as precedent, like, or it'll just give freaking prosecutors the balls to go after. It's like,
Right.
well, we did it to him. Or even just to threaten people. It's like, you saw what we did to Julian Assange, right? You better shut the fuck up.
Yeah, well, and
Like, you better say what we tell you to say and
Yeah.
don't say what we tell you not to say, because we got the Julian Assange playbook.
Right.
We didn't even have to arrest him.
Right.
We didn't have to. He never once served any time in custody, in U.S. custody, and look at that broken shell of a man. Like, you saw the videos of him and how anti-war he was, anti-big corporations, anti-government he was. Look at him now.
Yeah.
You think we can't get to you?
Right.
You're here on U.S. soil. You think
Right.
we can't get to you? We got to Julian Assange.
Yeah. Well, and we live in a day and age right now where, fake news, right?
Right.
They
Everything's
go
fake
after
news.
you. Anything you say against
both sides.
Both sides. Yeah, but anything you say against the narrative, they come after you with all guns blazing.
Yeah, I mean, fake news was written into the dictionary by Donald Trump,
Right.
and then the other side won't say fake news because Donald Trump overplayed it. That's a Donald Trumpism.
Yeah.
But they will say misinformation.
Yep.
Disinformation.
Disinformation.
Remember we talked about the difference between misinformation and disinformation?
There's actually a international disinformation like committee that goes to different countries, and they set up these task forces.
Is that called the NED?
Yeah, right.
Wait, no, that's the ones that distribute
Yes.
the disinformation.
Right.
I gotcha. So this is from The Guardian. So they are highly concerned
As they
by
should
the
be.
implications of free speech because, and this tells me how scared they are of this next election, because who's probably going to be in office? Donald Trump. Who is saying he's going to throw journalists in prison? Donald Trump.
Right.
So the Guardian's like, guys, we shouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
Now, if we would have done this like in 2020, this would have been fine, because we could have been like, we shut down the disinformation. We shut down. But now it's just like, it's looking like a good chance Trump's going to get in and we're going to be screwed. And you guys set the bar for it by charging Julian Assange and making him sign a plea deal that declares him a felon under the Espionage Act, no less. Not just a normal felon, like under the Espionage Act. It says, at last, Julian Assange is free, but it may have come at a high price for press freedom. Instead of just dropping the case, the Biden administration got a guilty plea and set a dangerous tone for reporters everywhere, specifically us.
Yeah, right.
We are all we care about. Julian Assange is on the verge of being set free after WikiLeaks founder, of course, no, I'll do it later, Guardian. In other words, I won't do it at all. Julian Assange is on the verge of being set free after the WikiLeaks founder and U.S. authorities have agreed to a surprising plea deal. While it should be a relief to anyone who cares about press freedom that Assange will be coming to the U.S. to face trial, the Biden administration should be ashamed at how the case is played out. Assange is flying from the U.S. or the U.K. to U.S. territory in the Pacific Ocean to make a brief court appearance today, and soon after he may officially be a free man. So all these reports that Julian Assange is free, not yet, not so much yet, because the judge makes the final decision.
Yeah.
Yes, the plea deal says it, but the judge decides. That's side note. What if all this plea deal bullshit was to bypass all the appeals of the extradition process, make this plea deal to get him to U.S. territory? Yes, this isn't the continental U.S., but this is U.S. territory where the judge says, fuck you, you're going to prison, to U.S. prison. And it's just like, hey, we didn't even have to extradite you. You came here willingly.
Absolutely.
You signed the deal. It was left up to the judge. Maybe, what if that was the plan all along and the judge is going to be like, nah, sorry, 175 years.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
But I only pled guilty to the one charge. I don't fucking care, 175.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, he'd only get 10 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
But what if the judge is like, you got to go sit? Do you think Julian Assange survives 5 years in a fucking U.S. prison?
No,
absolutely not.
He doesn't make it a month.
That's another scary thing that every time people are like you see the posts like, Julian Assange will be free. It's like, but will he?
Yeah, right. Will he be alive and free?
I mean, it's ultimately up to the judge. It's ultimately up to everybody, every CIA agent he crosses paths with between the prison in London to these freaking whatever these islands are. I don't remember the name of the islands. This U.S. territory, though. It says the deal is undoubtedly good for Assange, who has been holed up in a Belmarsh prison, suffering from serious medical problems for the past 5 years, and stuck in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 7 years prior to that. It's good for the Biden administration, which avoids the embarrassment of potentially losing its extradition case in the UK High Court, but more importantly, avoids the Assange case becoming a polarizing issue in the election. That's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just clean slate. It won't get. It's not. You're not going to be able to even bring it up in debates.
Yeah.
You know how he was asked the question back in February? It's like, and he's like, working on it, Jack. It's like, can't even, like, let's squash this before the debate. So if it even comes up, it's like, what are you going to do about Julian Assange? It's like, well, we already did, he's
It's
free.
a non-issue.
It's a non-issue at this point. Biden washed his hands clean of it. They can't ask, are you for it or against? It's like, I had nothing to do with that. That was between the DOJ and Julian Assange's lawyers.
Yep.
Said it's a good deal but is the deal good for press freedom? Not so much. Don't get me wrong. There's no doubt the worst fate was avoided, and every journalist breathed a sigh of relief that this result did not occur via a court decision. A plea deal does not create an official precedent that a conviction in appeals court ruling would. Something that could have potentially bound other courts to rule against journalists in future cases. Like I said, there's no legal precedent like U.S. versus Assange,
right?
Like citations in a different trial.
Yeah.
It says, but it's hard not to be shaken by the charge that the U.S. Justice Department forced Assange to plead in order to get his freedom, a conspiracy to violate the Espionage Act, which according to the law amounts to receiving and obtaining secret documents and willfully communicating them to persons not entitled to receive them. In Assange's case, that meant the public. That is a crime that journalists and mainstream outlets all over the U.S. commit virtually every day, specifically The Guardian, probably.
Right.
Again, they're only worried about covering their own ass. A court won't readily be able to cite DOJ versus Assange in the future rulings, but that doesn't mean this guilty plea won't embolden future federal prosecutors with an axe to grind against the press. They will see this case as a success, and it doesn't mean the legal arms of the news outlets won't now be worried a case can be brought against their own journalists for ordinary journalistic conduct that was once assuredly protected by the First Amendment. Now, here's where it gets very self-serving for The Guardian. Just imagine what an attorney general in a second Trump administration will think, knowing they've already got one guilty plea from a publisher under the Espionage Act. Trump, after all, has been out on the campaign trail repeatedly opining that about how he would like to see journalists who he sees enemies of the people in jail, while the Biden administration would hand him any ammo is beyond belief. So they're only worried about what Trump will do with it. Not worried about what Biden would do with it.
Right.
Not worried about the fact that the FBI pretty much told Twitter to shut down anything about the Hunter Biden laptop. That's the Department of Justice right there.
Yep.
Nobody batted an eye for that, but now that this happened, they fucking know that there's a good chance Donald Trump's going to become the next president. They're like, oh shit, we're next on the chopping block. You just handed it to him. You just gave him the ammo, all the ammunition to throw us in jail next. Like, why did you have to do this now? Why couldn't you just wash your hands clean of it, not charge him with anything?
Do you feel like organizations like The Guardian or the New York Times or ABC, MSNBC would have anything to fear from a Biden administration, DOJ? They never go against him.
No, exactly. But that's the whole thing. But
even when
they would go against like the New York Post. They would shut down like New York Post. They weren't prosecuted. They weren't like charged with anything or thrown in jail by any stretch.
Yeah.
But the FBI, the Department of Justice, did come after and say, shut that shit down.
Right.
Stop the New York Post from conducting their business online pretty much.
Right.
That was the Department of Justice that did. No concern about that. That was just like journalistic integrity because these guys were lying out their teeth.
It had nothing to do with the Espionage Act.
Right.
You know, all it was spilling the president's son's shit.
Yeah, yeah. And it was, it was potentially from Russia.
Right.
So we had to shut it down because it was potentially Russian source information. Yeah. It's like, how many times can you throw Russia on a story?
He's the enemy. They're the enemy of the state currently.
Now, I got an axe to grind with New York Post because I've lost a lot of respect for the New York Post with this Julian Assange shit. So remind me to get to the New York Post.
New York Post, got it.
Anyways, so yeah, I sided with them back then. But now I'm like, fuck the New York Post. You're just like all the rest of them. It says, just imagine what an attorney general in a second Trump administration would think, blah, blah, blah. Why the Biden administration would hand him any ammo is beyond belief. So if the Biden administration is looking for plaudits for ending this case, they should get exactly none. They could have dropped this case 3 years ago. That's another thing. Biden comes out now and says, I'm the guy that freed Julian Assange. It's like, you've been in office now 3 years. You're in an election year right now. Yeah. This is clearly a political move. Yeah. So, I mean, it would be thrown back in his face. Like, you could have ended this.
Who's going to do it?
Dave fucking won. Well, Tucker Carlson, maybe.
Tucker Carlson.
Well, maybe, because maybe they Tucker Carlson might like Julian Assange, but if New York Post doesn't like Julian Assange, does Fox News like Julian Assange?
Probably not.
It says,
I could see Hannity right now. This guy put American soldiers at risk.
Yeah.
Same thing as Pence.
Same with Michael Savage. I used to love him, but then when he came out, it was like Law and Order. Right. Remember he tweeted out martial law. It's like, what the hell are you saying, dude? I lost a lot of respect for any conservative media outlet. Tucker, he's annoying more than anything.
He's annoying, but I do give him props for talking to Putin.
Yeah. Every major civil liberties and human rights group in the country repeatedly implored the DOJ to release him, pretty much. Yeah. They could have just dropped the case today with Assange spending the same amount of time in prison, but they felt the need again to emphasize in court documents that they believe obtaining and publishing secret government documents is a crime. Of course, some will say, oh, Assange got what he deserved, or he's no journalist, why should I care? As people do whenever you bring up the inconvenient fact that prosecuting Assange will affect countless other journalists. Assange made himself the permanent enemy of millions of Democrat voters after publishing leaked emails from the DNC and Clinton campaign in the run-up to the 2016 election, and many people can't see past that. but it's worth repeating that this case had nothing to do at all with the 2016. And whether you think Assange is a journalist or not, I bet it did have a lot to do with 2016. I fucking guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
No matter how much they say, because you're a Democrat, you're on the left, you're left media. Oh, he wasn't arrested at all for the shit in 2016. Oh yeah, both sides were like, dude, we got to get this guy. He's a threat to all of us.
If he could do that to them, he can do that to us.
Whether you think Assange is a journalist or not, the DOJ wanted him convicted under the Espionage Act for acts of journalism, which would leave many reporters, including The Guardian, exposed to the same. Now, we can only hope this case is an aberration and not a harbinger of things to come. So basically just self-serving. It's like, if this could happen to him, it could happen to all these other journalists, specifically The Guardian, under Donald Trump, and we know it's coming. So can we not do this, guys? Because... Again, they had no qualms during the Hunter Biden shit.
Right.
The laptop stuff. When the New York Post got shut down, like, people applauded. People like The Guardian applauded that stuff.
Right.
But now that it's like, oh, Donald Trump's going to be president, and he's already threatening us, and you just made it that much easier for him to literally throw us in jail. So thanks for that. Thanks, Biden administration. The Biden administration's like, I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
We had nothing to do with this. Was just the DOJ, which
that's why you want to vote
falls
for us.
directly under us, but this was the DOJ. Yeah. So vote for us. We are the supporters of free press and law and order at the like.
Yeah.
Have you seen such a wishy-washy campaign than Joe Biden's campaign this year?
Yeah, right.
Like, I'd say probably at least 70%, 80% of his base are pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
And he's made it very clear that he's not Netanyahu, and this is all Netanyahu's fault, and we're going to call for Netanyahu to end all this stuff. And then the Julian Assange stuff, I would say probably 60, 70% of leftists are probably pro-Julian Assange.
Yeah.
And he's made it clear that he doesn't care.
Right.
He just like...
Yeah.
There's a lot more dollars on this. Like his whole base over here, the majority of his base, there's more dollars on this side.
Yeah.
Which is, it's amazing to me how he got this 80 million like record-breaking votes from when he is such a like tout the line, say the right things, but be so far from the hard line left.
His sole platform is I'm not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely.
That's all he's got.
And I like ice cream.
Yeah.
So my bone with the New York Post. Got to bring this up.
Okay.
This title alone should say enough. Julian Assange is not a hero, but a self-righteous lowlife lucky to be set free.
Sounds like somebody didn't get hired. Right?
Correct.
So they write a hits piece?
Anarchists and American haters might cheer. And American haters.
Are you an anarchist or an American hater?
I would consider myself more an anarchist than any other, close to any of these other political parties. Anarchists and American haters might cheer the release of Julian Assange from UK prison after striking a plea deal with U.S. prosecutors. But make no mistake, he's no hero. Nor is he a journalist whose participation in theft... This must have been Mike Pence writing an op-ed under pseudonym. Nor is he a journalist whose participation in the theft and distribution of mountains of extremely sensitive information deserves First Amendment protection. Now, be careful what you say, New York Post, because you were, again, just like The Guardian, 3 years ago, you were bitching about, like, violations to the freedom of the press. He and WikiLeaks Group didn't just publish stolen, highly classified and sensitive info. They eagerly sought it out, with Assange himself accused of actually helping then U.S. Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning obtain the material. Nor did he use any discretion in publishing the documents, even when it put lives at risk, even though the former director of intelligence said, "We don't think that it put any lives at risk." Identifying those who'd served as U.S. informers in the war against the Taliban. Again, not to keep quoting the intelligence guy because he's probably not that credible, but when he says that guy that we hate so much didn't really put that many at risk, or if anybody, there's no credible evidence. That's their main argument here. That's not what real journalists do. Heck, it's not what anyone who knows the difference between right and wrong would do. Yes, information from insiders looking to report real abuse by government agencies should have an outlet, if not taken seriously by authorities, given to the media to galvanize public pressure for reform. Certainly, the politicization in recent years of the Justice Department and U.S. intel agencies and outright abuse by insiders makes the press role as a watchdog even more critical. Through media insiders can and do collude. Though media insiders can and do collude with intel insiders to deceive the public too. But Assange wasn't interested in justice or exposing true abuse. He simply relished obtaining and releasing any secret government or political material, particularly if U.S.-based. Now, I don't know if you saw the big ones there, like the NSA spying, like civilians being murked, like I don't know. I feel like he was seeking some justice here, or he was at least like trying to crash the system, which would ultimately seek some justice here. Fact is, full transparency for government info 100% of the time is just not just impractical, it's idiotic. Uncle Sam needs to keep some critical secrets, especially when it's killing civilians.
Right, yeah.
And journalists, because they were Reuters journalists. Now, if it was New York Post journalists, yeah, if it was from, this is the New York Post, if it was New York Post journalists, I think they would have a different story here. Yeah. It's critical to keep those secrets of, like, killing civilians. Right. The nation faces real threats. It says especially. Uncle Sam needs to keep critical secrets, especially when lives are on the line. What about when deaths are on the line?
Right, yeah.
The nation faces real threats from other countries, terrorists, criminals. Exposing plans for dealing with them gives our enemy a huge edge. It says no, at bottom, Assange is little more than a radical anarchist hacker, I'm okay with that, who cloaks himself in righteousness. In 1996, he pleaded guilty to 24 counts of hacking in an Australian case. He faced a slew of U.S. charges related to hacking and distributing material whose release dealt the United States a serious blow. Now, just because he was found guilty of something doesn't mean he's a bad dude, because a corrupt government is going to find you guilty of doing something wrong if you're exposing their bullshit.
Well, and even if you're not, if you're going against their agenda, they're going to find you guilty, i.e. Donald Trump.
Right. Now, do you have less respect for the New York Post now?
I do. I'm surprised that they'd come out with that.
I am too, and it doesn't say that this was an op-ed or anything. Yeah. It says it was by Post. I don't know what I think about this. I know exactly what I think about this. So
it's bullshit.
Oh, it does say it's an opinion editorial, but it's from the Post editorial board. It's an opinion by.
But the fact that nobody takes responsibility for it is kind of bullshit, right?
Right, exactly.
Somebody should come up and be like, "Yeah, this is what I think about him," instead of saying, "No, this is an editorial decision."
Right. Now, I get that there are some confidential stuff that are probably should remain under wraps, but when you see corruption, you're like, or you see this shitty thing happen and nobody's willing to come out and fess up to it, then it's just like, well, I'll fess up to it for you. And it's like, well, let's see what else you got there. Let's see what else. And it's just like, let's just sweep it all up and just throw it all out there so everybody can see what you're doing right now. Because you don't want to be transparent enough to be like, oops, we accidentally killed our own people and some civilians. Instead, it's just like, well, if you don't have the fortitude or the freaking morals to be upfront about stuff like that, it's like, let's just let the people decide. Right. Let's let them decide what should and shouldn't be released, and what knowledge they should have and shouldn't have.
There's a difference between being like, hey, Special Forces is going to run a black op March 13th at 3 a.m. to take out Osama bin Laden.
Right.
And, hey, we accidentally took out a convoy of civilians. Sorry.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, so there's a big difference on national security in those levels.
Now,
right?
I'm sure 70+ thousand, 100+ thousand documents, some stuff that probably didn't need to get out there. Probably didn't, but it was more like, let's see what's here, throw it all out there before I get to. It's not like he can sit there and sift through it all.
Right. Yeah, he gets a dump, he dumps. Right?
Yeah, and it goes on Reddit or 4chan, and those internet sleuths come out
and you don't see any
and
specific
make up
cases,
Pizzagate
though.
and stuff.
You don't see, like, Muhammad J. Johnson, who was a translator and a guide, got murdered, with his family. You don't see any specific cases popping out.
Yeah,
They just start generalizing,
Yeah.
saying, well, you put American lives in danger.
Well, yeah, and like I said, there was actually articles that were like, the Taliban has hunted down and killed.
Right.
It's like, who, though? Like, which?
Yeah, right.
Show me the name on the WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
Show me
Right.
the guy that,
right?
that got killed, and then I'll take your side on that and be like, wow, he probably shouldn't have released that list of names. But all they're doing is putting the emotion in it. It's just like, of all these 70,000 documents of shitty things we did, hey, there's this page of names.
Yeah.
Oh, these are some. There's like 10 of our assets here. Oh, we can get the public's opinion from. It goes right back to what Julian Assange was saying. It's just like weaponizing the media. The media only reports on the fact that, oh, this list of a couple names here got released, and doesn't focus on the fact that, oh, we're killing civilians. Oh, we're inflating our civilian deaths. The NSA is spying on us. All this stuff, all this corruption that's going on. But the media is just going to solely focus on, oh, there's a list of names here. He put those guys' lives at risk. It's just like, did you not read the rest of the shit?
Right.
Because if you did, you're doing the world a disservice by not report. You want to say Julian Assange isn't the real journalist when the New York Post is going to come out and only focus on the fact that, oh, we put some of our assets at risk, but they're failing to report on the fact that, oh, this happened and the U.S. is responsible for this and these war crimes. The New York Post ain't coming out and saying that. So you want to talk about who the real fucking journalist is the guy that's willing to come out. Yeah, and maybe he slipped up and released a few names that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
But at least he has the journalistic integrity to be like, this shit is happening here, and the New York Post won't even fucking do that.
Right.
In this article, it's talking about him getting released.
Yeah.
All they're going to say is, oh, he put lives at risk. He's not a hero.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, you're the one who's aren't true journalist because you're only reporting the bullshit propaganda that the rest of the media is telling you to report.
Exactly. And if you're doing that, you might as well be the propaganda wing of the government.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's all the media is on both sides.
Oh,
it seems
is
anymore. So.
Yeah, depending on who's in office, the media either takes their side or doesn't.
Exactly.
They just play people against each other, anyways.
So we're about at it. We're well over time. Holy shit! How did we get here?
It's Julian Assange.
Oh yeah, exactly. I did want to read this. I mean, this is interesting. It's a theory. It's like a Q. It's like a Q level theory about Julian Assange.
All right.
I found this Twitter post right before we came on. I was just like, yeah, look, I've looked up these articles. Let's see what Twitter's saying. And I scrolled across this. I was like, oh, interesting. I haven't seen Q level posts in a while, and this is on Twitter no less. So this is from L Exodus at L Exodus 7. Let me show it. The real Julian Assange. Now, when it starts that way,
yeah, right,
just echoes of Q.
Right.
The real Julian Assange, rumored to be safely tucked away for some time, will finally be seen for who he truly is and what he truly stands for. Not a criminal held by the British so-called justice system. And kind of echoes, you remember the JFK Jr. stuff where he was that weird guy, and the weird Q guy at the Trump rallies, that JFK Jr. that's going to come back and help usher Trump's victory. So the real Julian Assange wasn't in a British prison. He's been hidden away safely. His release marks a crucial juncture in an unfolding military operation. Now, this is where I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Because they call it an unfolding military operation, which I feel like Julian Assange wouldn't take part in an unfolding military operation, considering he's pretty
Anti-military.
anti-wars and stuff. His release marks a crucial junction in an unfolding military operation, a phenomenal effort with the intricate details known only by a select few. Those in the know understand that Assange's freedom brings us closer to the unveiling of the intricate details of this master plan. What is the master plan? You just keep talking about the intricate details of a master plan.
But if you know, you know.
A plan that's been meticulously orchestrated for decades.
Decades.
Some of the individuals involved are bound by blood. Their lineage stretches across generations, united by a common purpose. As we witness the conclusion of this fascinating operation, history books will be filled with the stories of Julian Assange's role in it, the impact his actions had on the awakening of the people. We are on the cusp of a new era, one where the truth, long suppressed, will finally be revealed, thanks in no small part to the courageous actions of a man named Julian Assange. God bless you, Julian Assange.
What's the plan?
I don't fucking know.
I feel like I need to know that.
I feel like we're missing something
Yes.
critical here.
What's the fucking plan?
We'll find out.
Okay.
Trust the plan.
Okay.
I'm surprised they didn't say trust the plan.
Yeah.
In this somewhere, because this just
Right.
screams of Q.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And
yeah.
is
I
Julian
mean, somebody
Assange
gonna like kind of wink at me so I know something's happening?
now? Yeah, exactly. Now, if they would have even dared to mention Donald Trump's name in this, like he's going to like reign in the era of Trump, I would have been like, I still am saying this is total bullshit, but I would just be like, fuck you.
Yeah, right.
Fuck you. He does not care about your plan. He doesn't care about Donald Trump. He doesn't fucking care. That's how, he's not a Trump guy.
No.
Donald Trump's not a Julian Assange guy.
No.
They both made that clear.
Yeah.
So if anybody comes out and is like, Julian Assange is part of the bigger plan to reinstate Donald Trump as the president, of the real president of the United States.
Right,
It's just like, nah.
His true place amongst us.
Nah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm calling bullshit.
So, what do you think?
I want to know.
You just want to know what the plan is.
I want to know what the plan is, but
I'm
also
still waiting for the real the Q plan.
Yeah, right.
We never got the details on that either.
I know. No, and also I would love to talk to somebody who can tell me what the plan is. Be like, oh, you don't know. It's whispered in hushed tones amongst us,
amongst those that are bound by blood.
Yes, through generations,
stretching across generations, united by a common purpose for decades now, meticulously orchestrated for decades.
Yes.
So, what's next for Julian Assange? Is it this plan? Is it trust the plan? Do you think? Do you think he's been hid away, living? I mean, I've seen the pictures. He doesn't look like he's living in luxury.
Right.
Maybe they're photoshopped or something.
No,
but
I believe he's probably not.
No, you don't think that's what the future is?
No.
Like what do you think's next for him? Does he make it back to Australia?
I think he does. And
does he get freed? First of all, that's the first question.
I think he does get free.
You think so? You think the judge is going to honor all the shit?
I think that there's more to the deal than what we've heard.
I guarantee you there's more in there that we're not being told.
I think he does get free. I think he moves to the Australian countryside and has a stroke in about 3-4 years. And,
you think
and that's it.
Do you think he continues a life of activism, or do you think he is just done?
I think
he's just
done.
like, he probably knows his days are numbered.
Yeah.
He's like, every day I'm still alive.
Yeah.
It's a surprise to me.
Right.
So I'm just going to live like this is my last day.
I'm just going to live with Stella and just chill.
2 kids that he probably has never met outside of prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I
I wouldn't fault him for that. Would I
No.
love to see him come and just like rain terror and be like,
Oh,
vengeance upon my enemies?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would.
Yeah.
But the human in me is like, dude, go fucking live your life.
He just
please.
wants to retire.
Please,
Right,
just go live your life.
Exactly.
Just be happy.
The
in peace.
romantic in me wants to think that he has a cachet somewhere that if something happens to him, it floods the internet,
right,
and it changes the whole fucking world.
I do too. And I want him to release the JFK documents. I want to know who fucking killed JFK. That's the biggest thing I want to know.
Yeah.
What do you think the whole motive was behind his freeing? Do you think there was ulterior motive? Do you think it was just we just want to get rid of this? It's an election year. We want to get rid of this.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where They feel like, okay, he can't hurt them anymore. He's done the damage he's going to do. They just want to clear him off the board.
Do you think he's still dangerous? Or do you think
he can be? Yeah.
Because you said they can't hurt me anymore. Do you think they believe that, or do you think they feel like he's?
I think they see him and they see that he's tired. He's just at
broken.
A point.
They feel like he's broken.
I think
that
so.
would be such an advantageous position for him to be in, though.
Well, yeah.
For them to think, like, to be fully convinced that he's completely broken.
Yeah.
That they're like, you know what, just let him go.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do?
He pulls like a verbal Kent moment where he's limping down the street and he gets picked up by a limo and goes to a secret base of operations and unloads hell.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
That would be amazing. Like I said, that would be. He's got them now.
Yeah.
Like, he's in a position where they think he's weak.
Yeah.
They think he's broken. He could just wreak ultimate havoc.
Again, the romantic in me would love to believe that, but I realistically, I think he's just tired. I think he's done.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too.
So,
I'll believe when I see him free. Like I said, I'm not like all these sites that are like Assange is free. It's like, but he's not yet, guys. Guys, slow down. He's not yet.
Walks to get picked up by his wife, and somebody comes in black bags him, throws him in a van, and they take off.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah.
Or if the judge even just said, "Psych,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thanks for coming."
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah, right.
You fell for that shit.
Let's try Edward
We're the
Snowden
U.S.
now.
DOJ. You actually believed us?
Yeah, sucker.
It's like we pulled shadier shit than this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
With dumber people than you.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that we got you, that says a lot.
Yeah.
So the last thing I have, or I've got a quick video too, but this was a quote by Julian Assange, and it says a lot. It says, "By bringing out into the public domain how human instinctions actually behave, we can understand, frankly, to a degree, for the first time, the civilization that we actually have."
And I agree with that.
Just
look at the WEF's little meeting they had, and their big thing was about how do we instill trust in institutions again?
Right.
After COVID and everything, there is no trust in the institutions.
Well, when you are the ones that brought so much distrust through your lies, through your bullshit, through your propaganda, your media propaganda, your political propaganda, you ostracize good intention, like good people, for daring to question you, and then to come out and be like, how can we? Like, we need to come up with a master plan to regain their trust. It's like, stop being pieces of shit and you'll regain their trust. Right. Instead of trying to plot, like, an evil plot on how to gain their trust, maybe just work at gaining their trust.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be I mean, that's just freaking...
over their head.
Just a shot in the
they
dark
don't
there.
even know how to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I see the meme where they're throwing the guy with the idea out the window.
Yeah, right.
But, I mean... exposing what's actually happening, and we can understand the society, the civilization we actually live in, not this freaking rainbow-colored democracy, quote-unquote.
Right.
Like, Julian Assange, the Edward Snowdens in the world, the freaking all these whistleblowers or what, political prisoners or whoever, all they did was expose how little democracy we actually have. And then when the forces they're exposing, like, rear up after them, it's just like you're just proving their fucking point.
Yeah.
That we don't live in the democracy you say we're living in. To keep this guy, like, under pretty much psychological torture, like, pretty much like a terrorist would be kept, under supermax confinement. Wasn't he in, like, isolation for a good chunk of that time?
Which is where his health really took a dive.
Yeah. And then to say, oh, this is for the good of democracy. It's like, you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means.
Did you see Spike's post after Juneteenth?
Uh-oh.
So he basically said, I know you guys are, like, celebrating the end of slavery, but we're actually still in slavery.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, with all the taxes we pay, for our homes, our cars, all that, he's like, we're basically indentured servants.
Taxes. Speaking of taxes, this video will tie in really well. This final video from Julian Assange that I want to play, and then we're going to get out of here.
Okay.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
I mean,
hence, Ukraine right now.
Right, exactly. Right? Like, hey, we ended the war in Afghanistan. Yeah. He's saying about Afghanistan what we've been saying about Ukraine all this time. It's just a big fucking money laundering scheme. Get it out of, like, wash it through an untaxable system, an untraceable system, so we could keep getting our
our tax dollars and then laundering it back to themselves, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is fucking dangerous.
Oh,
I mean, you don't.
But
no matter
you can't
how
murder
broke
him either, though.
I know you can't. But no matter how broke this guy is, he hasn't been. You haven't taken that from him, at least. That mindset.
I would hope not.
Like, I can't imagine they brainwashed him, or he would have flipped a long-ass time ago.
Yeah.
Again, I applaud him for if he decides to just go freaking retire and be a hermit and live with his family. His legacy is going to never go away, and the shit that they did to him, nobody's ever going to forget that. No matter who released him from prison, we'll know what they did to Julian Assange. Even if they broke him, that's even more of like a martyr type statement. It's like, dude, they did this to him because he dared to expose what they were fucking doing. And it's not just the DNC stuff. It's not just the civilian deaths. It's stuff like this where it's just like, dude, it's money laundering. They're taking your money. They're fighting these endless wars. I mean, this was probably back before anybody else was really talking about this shit.
2011, right before people actually started getting sick of shit. But and you're right in that, and that's why New York Post is bullshit, because he is coming out against the institutions. He is coming out against the system the way it is and how it's
like you're not listening to him.
Right,
you looked at the troves of stuff where it does seem like it was just like, doesn't matter what it was, I just want it. But you didn't listen to any of the shit that he actually said. I mean, he explains why he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, just that statement alone, just
what
just
you just
publicly saying that was enough to get him fucking murdered.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
but now it's a thing that a lot of other people are come out and saying.
Right. I mean, he was way before his time.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So, I don't know. I applaud the guy.
Definitely.
I will always be in support of the guy. I don't give a shit what you say about the guy, whether you hate him or like him. He did something that most of us wouldn't have the balls to even come close to doing.
Yeah.
So,
and I hope if he doesn't continue, that someone picks up the torch.
I am very, very happy that he's free. I am very, very scared of what comes from this, the implications, like I said, towards the press, which at this point, what's the fucking press anyway?
Right.
What's journalism anyway?
Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah, it's all dead anyway. So if it gets this guy out of jail, I'd take this guy over the Guardian or the New York Post any day of the week. So if it puts the New York Post or the Guardian in jeopardy, fuck you guys, because you guys you don't have journalistic integrity, an ounce of it. So I don't care about you guys. So give me Julian Assange over any of them any day of the week.
Absolutely.
That's all I got. You got anything else?
No. No, I think that's it.
That's it.
Yes.
Good. Julian Assange is free. We can all have a drink for Julian tonight, because it might be his last night, I guess. Well, supposedly he's free.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm still going to have a drink for him.
Absolutely.
Seemingly a victory, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see, I guess. We'll see how it plays out. Let us know what you think of all this shit. Let us know. The comment section is always open. Let us know what you think of Julian Assange. Is he a hero or is he a scumbag like the New York Post says? Is this going to hurt the future of journalism? We do have an election cycle coming up. They could use this as a political tool to
huge political football
to shut down any media that goes against the grain. Which, if it wasn't Julian Assange, it'd be somebody else. It'd be something else. So they have plenty of tools that aren't Julian Assange. The comment section is always open. You can find us on the social medias at Break the Bell Pod. Share us far and wide, and yeah.
And the biggest question is, what is the fucking plan?
What is the plan?
Yes. Somebody let us know.
Where has Julian been hiding, and what is the plan?
Safely tucked away.
Yes. And what is this blood oath or blood-bound?
For generations.
For generations. I got to know.
Yeah.
If you know, if you're part of that blood-boundness,
let us know.
Please let us know on the social medias at the handle @BreakTheBellPod. Yes. Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next time we're around.
Peace.
Bye.
The Break the Bell podcast is brought to you by you. So pat yourself on the back, because without you, we would be talking to ourselves. A special thanks to our Patreon members, Justin Zielinski, Remzo Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and T.O. Jacobson. A shout out to our sponsors, Run Your Mouth Coffee, the On the Run podcast, and Goulash Media. If you'd like to help support us, visit patreon.com/breakthebell or buy our garbage at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. Get back here next week and let us continue to invade your ear holes. And as always, never stop talking.